Johnson's here.
So Alderman Johnson, we can get you logged on.
Oh, and there's Chris.
Who else do we need?
And they're here, so then we have everyone here.
You ready?
Ready.
All right, I want to call to order the meeting of the Common Council meeting for Tuesday, August 21st. We've all logged on our new system. Clerk, how does it look?
12 are present, Your Honor.
All right, great. So we're obviously have a quorum. All are present. If you could now all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, as our summer season comes to a close, we're grateful for the memories created and the wonderful times enjoyed by many here in Green Bay because of the many gifts you've bestowed upon us. We're grateful for our summer employees, those who lifeguard at our aquatic centers, the parkies at our city parks, the summer maintenance staff, and all those who help bring about community through jobs and volunteerism here in Green Bay. We pray for all the students returning to school. We ask that you watch over their safety and bless them with the gift of wisdom and faith. We pray for all students that they see the many gifts you've given to our communities and to our families. As we approach the Labor Day holiday, let us be mindful of all those who work and protect and advocate for the men and women who truly build our community. As always, we ask you to be with our military, especially those serving on the USS Green Bay. We ask this in your name. Amen. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes. So we have a motion by Alderman Nicholson, seconded by Alderman Scannell, to approve the minutes of the July 17th meeting. Let me just get this on here. Any discussion here? Seeing no lights, all in favor of those minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The minutes of the July 17th meeting have been approved. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda. There's a motion by Alderman Scannell, and that was seconded by Alderman Stoyer to approve the agenda before you. Anything you want to look at here? Seeing no lights, all in favor of the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The agenda before you has been approved.
Report by the mayor.
Just a couple things. It's nice to see everybody. It seems like it's been a while. I just want to introduce, I think you all know Kim, but the deputy clerk position has been filled by Kim Waite, and Kim will be on board with us now and all the city council meetings. So as you know, she's been down in the clerk's office for, what, 3 years? 2 years? Oh, 12 years? Sorry. Wow. She's been with us some time, and we're glad she's here, and we just want to welcome her to the position of deputy clerk. Say this Saturday there's an event, and there's a lot of events coming up, but one I just wanted to draw attention to is where they honor the World War II vets, and that's becoming fewer and fewer people, and I know there's going to be 3 of them there. We're presenting a proclamation. That's at the Alloway Cemetery Saturday at 9 a.m. So there's a lot of events going on in Green Bay, and I usually don't mention them all because I forget one, but this one's very special. My father-in-law was in the World War II, and so Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Alloway Cemetery. I mentioned in my invocation Labor Day. That's coming up, obviously, Monday, September 3rd, and there's always an annual picnic, which everyone is invited to. It's great for families, friends, and that's at Bay Beach at 11 o'clock. It goes from 11 till 4. That's the Labor Day picnic that the city enjoys and helps celebrate. And lastly, let's see. Lastly, I just want to thank you. You know, I was laid up for a little while a couple weeks ago, and I know some of us have our differences, but I sure appreciate the cards and the letters and the emails and the books. I got a lot of books that you guys sent, and I just want to tell you that meant a lot to me. It does. I appreciate that. I think that really puts things in perspective. So I just want to thank everybody for kind of being there for me. All right, clerk, that concludes my report.
We're on to announcements.
Okay, we'll begin with Alderman Mark Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to do a little shout out to DPW, Steve Greener's group. They're fixing the railroad crossings. We have it on Military. It's fantastic. Thank you. And Taylor Street's being worked on right now. So thank you again.
Terrific. Alderperson LaFave? Hang on one second.
Should save the date. Oh, I'm sorry. Should save the date. October 5th of this year from 9 to 12:30 p.m. There's a press conference at Heritage Hill with a bus tour to follow. It's the 5th annual Bringing Back the Bay Tour, growing our community assets with innovative stormwater management. You should have, all the alders and county supervisors and different department heads and community, people in the community that would be interested in, should have received an invitation, so I'm hoping that you respond. I do have a couple flyers here if anybody wants, but you can contact Julie Nork at NOORDYKI@uwgb.edu. If you need to see this to write it down and get further information, just you can see the flyers that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Randy Scannell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to shout out that Friday from, I believe it's 11 until 5 at Festival Foods. Navarino Neighborhood's having a cookout for fundraising. Come and get a brat.
All right, very good, thank you. Did you have something else?
Yes.
Okay, Alderperson LaFave?
Yes, and then also I had Chris Teskey made some copies of the Brown County Directory. I've been hearing from some people that they've been having trouble contacting people in the county to get their email or their phone number. This is a very inclusive little booklet. It's handy. Also, I gave Cheryl Renner-Wieg one because she said this would be very important for her and some other department heads. I will see if I can get a few more. But thank Chris Teskey for making copies for everybody. Please use it. It's very valuable information. Although there might be, if you have something in there that is not correct, there's a thing on the back where you can get the printed copy if you want by electronic. And you can call them or notify them and correct if any information is not correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chris, do you have any announcements? All right, let's continue then.
We're on to appointments, new appointments. Ethics Board, Sherry Graham. Redevelopment Authority, Debbie Dane.
We go through. I want to go through a few. Do you want to just stop there? All right, we've got. Nope, we have zoning. Let's take zoning and planning, and then we'll take those, and then we'll do the sustainability. Yes. Can you just read one more, Jim Hutchinson?
Zoning Planning Board of Appeals, Jim Hutchinson.
So moved. All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Nicholson, seconded by Alderperson Dorff, to approve the appointments to the Ethics Board, Redevelopment Authority, and Zoning and Planning Commission Board of Appeals. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Those appointments been approved. Thank you.
Now new appointments for Sustainability Commission. Alderman Randy Scannell, S.C. Fells, Chase Highland, Stephanie Oritz, Deborah Hutchinson, Seth Hoffmeister, and Mark Walter.
All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Nicholson, seconded by Alderperson Kathy LaFave. Any discussion here? All right, seeing no lights, all in favor of those new appointments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, and the new appointments for the Sustainability Commission have been confirmed. Thank you.
We're now on to presentations. Anti-harassment training by Rick Bayer, CVMIC Director of Loss Control.
So, we've done this before. As you know, CVMIC is our insurance carrier, and we need to be in compliance with them. Part of what they ask us to do is be trained on sexual harassment. Everybody here, with the exception of the council, has been in this room and been through that, and we just need to do this year. So I've scheduled this for the next 3 meetings, 20 minutes. Rick has a presentation. He'll take Q&A after. pay attention. So much of this stuff, you're going to say, well, this is common sense. But on the other hand, sometimes it's good to be reminded of this. So, Rick, we thank you for being here. I know we moved this date a couple times, but we look forward to this. We enjoy working with CVMIC, and we want to be trained on the latest and greatest. So, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
We use the mic.
If you could just put up the presentation.
Okay. And I have that mic on, Rick, if you want it, but it's up to you.
Do I need to use the mic?
I think it's a little
Otherwise,
easier, and it also gets recorded then if you use the mic.
That's fine. First of all, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for having me coming in and doing the training program. What I want to do is I want to provide you with a very quick background of CVMIC, just so you know who we are. There are 48 cities in the state of Wisconsin that own our company. Green Bay is one of the owners. We provide for you your general liability, your auto liability, and public officials liability insurance, along with third-party administration of your work comp claims, as well as your auto physical damage policies. There are also a variety of other coverages that CVMIC provides for our members on group purchase basis, like cyber liability, crime coverage, and a variety of other programs. Our board of directors made a very conscious decision when they formed CVMIC that they wanted to prevent claims from occurring to the greatest extent possible. So we provide a lot of on-site service to our members. Last year, my staff was on-site in Green Bay 31 times. The liability staff had 82 contacts with your organization. We did 28 on-site programs to 827 of your employees. Along with that, 79 of your employees attended our regional training. I do a lot of regional training here at your police department. We found it to be a great site to host some of our programs. Along with that, 101 of your employees completed e-learning programs. We've got a big, large e-learning library for employees. They attended 14 of our live webinars. We also have a very large recorded webinar area that they attend. You received a $10,000 grant from us for safety-related kinds of needs. And along with that, we've provided, again, free to our members, a software platform called NeoGov and BIDL testing. So those are some of the services that you've received from us just in the last year. Over the last 5 years, your premiums have been reduced by dividends. And your dividends for the last 5 years have been somewhere between 45 and 55% of your premium. And that's helped to significantly reduce your costs with respect to your liability program. We also have a lot of other what we call membership advantage programs. We've got a grant program. We've got the NeoGov battery shutoff switch. We have a Narcan program this year for police departments. There's a lot of things that we've tried to do to give back to our members, and we've returned over $3.6 million to our members in terms of services as well as dividends. You have a dedicated claims person who deals with your liability claims. You have a dedicated work comp person. You have a dedicated loss control staff member from my staff, as well as an employment practices liability specialist. And that circle gives you kind of an idea of the different things that the staff comes on site to do for your organization. So as I said, our board of directors really has been service conscious for our members, and they are looking to make sure that we provide you with the best risk management, safety, and employment practices liability services that we can. All right, that's the commercial. What I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about harassment law. So today's program is a shortened version of what we provide for both your supervisors and your employees. A little bit about me. I've been with CVMIC for 21 years. I am the director of loss control for CVMIC. I have a staff of 10 that work for me. Prior to joining CVMIC, I spent 20 years in the world of human resources, 18 for the city of Appleton, just down the road from here, and 2 for Rock County. During that period of time, I've had ample opportunities to deal with problem situations, including 12 harassment and discrimination investigations that I had to conduct. Where harassment or discrimination is going on, we often find out it's because people are simply not informed. We don't know what we don't know, and I see that as being detrimental. The reason we do this, and you're probably the 35th council I've been in front of in the last 5 years, is that when elected officials are informed, I think that goes a long way to protecting your city from potential claims. A little bit about the history of harassment law in case you're not aware. The 1964 Civil Rights Act was the first large piece of legislation that came out of the federal government. 1980, we saw the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission issue some guidelines on sexual harassment as a part and a form of sex discrimination. During that year, there was one complaint made across this country. In 1986, we saw the Meritor Savings Bank versus Vincent case. In that case, a bank teller was required to have a sexual relationship with her manager to keep her job. She eventually quit, filed suit, and the Supreme Court determined that clearly the actions of that employer were against the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The year before, there had been 10 sexual harassment claims made in this country. After this decision, it went up to 1,000. 1991 Civil Rights Act made compensatory and punitive damages available, as well as jury trials. And in a jury trial, who do you think wins more? The employee or the employer? Employee, absolutely. And we saw the number of complaints rise from 6,000 to almost 13,000. The next two I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail in just a couple of minutes, but the Supreme Court decision in Farragher versus the City of Boca Raton and Burlington Industries versus Elif established what's considered and called the affirmative defense for employers. And I'll cover that in a second. Along with that, the Handy Gadgets case created a new level of liability for employers in the state of Wisconsin based on supervisory conduct. And I will cover that again near the end of the presentation. So let's talk about what's going on across the country. In 2017, there were 84,000 claims of harassment and discrimination made across this country. And the settlements were $355 million. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission litigated only 201 of those complaints, and the payout there was $42.4 million. So that's $400 million, not including the costs incurred by a lot of the legal defense. There were 41,000 retaliation claims and 26,978 harassment claims. And remember what I said earlier, in 1980 there was one. So there's been a lot that's been going on during that period of time. Our 48 cities in the last 10 years have had 303 complaints filed against them. We currently have 18 open claims, 285 of them are settled. We have paid out just a little over $5.4 million to settle those claims. Now I want to explain. It looks like we're having a really good 3-year period, 2016, 17, and 18, and we hope it will continue to be good, but we still have 18 open claims, and I can't tell you what the final cost is going to be for those 3 years. On a national level, you can see that retaliation represents almost 50% of all the claims made across this country, and that has substantially increased since 2011. And I'll cover why at the very end of the presentation when we talk about the Supreme Court decision that lowered the bar on retaliation claims. Along with retaliation, race, disability, sex, and age are the top 5 claims that you see being made across this country today. This is our top 12 list. Those are the 12 most expensive claims that we've had to date. The $462,000 claim we won, that's what we paid our attorneys. The red numbers are those numbers which represent newer claims. Consequences. What consequences does an employer face if found guilty? Back pay and front pay, and by the way, there are no caps on front pay. So assume for a moment that you have a 30-year-old employee who has filed a complaint of harassment, cannot come back into the workplace, and they're awarded front pay. Let's assume now 35, they're going to retire at 65, so they get 35 years of pay at their current rate. That's front pay. Along with that, punitive and compensatory damages can be awarded both at a federal level and a state level. I've seen written apologies in newspapers. One employer was required to put an ad in the New York Times, the whole two middle pages about their inappropriate conduct. Now, I can't tell you what that costs. They had to do that for 7 days. But I can tell you that when I put an ad in the LA Times in 1980 for a planning economic development coordinator, because we're having problems with recording it, this much was $3,000 bucks. So I'm guessing that that written apology was extremely expensive. Purging of personnel records, attorney fees, and if we lose, we get to pay our attorney and their attorney, along with court costs, make whole orders, and front page headlines. I want to share a little story with you in terms of front page headlines. We had a situation in one of our city fire departments years and years ago. It was not your department, to make that clear. But in that department, there were two employees, a white employee and a black employee. And they had nicknames for each other that were racial. And they were friends. And so when they were calling each other nicknames, it was because they were kidding. Move forward 10 years, and these two employees are no longer friends. The white employee continues to use his racial slurs against the black employee. The black employee stops. Goes to his house captain and says, I want this to stop. Nothing changed. He then files a suit. It gets into the court system. It's settled for a fairly large six-figure settlement. And I was sent in to train all the employees in the fire department, which isn't uncommon when there's issues like this. I got done with one of my training sessions, and one of these young firefighters came up to me, and he said, I want you to know something. He said, the majority of us in this fire department had nothing to do with what was going on. It was just a small handful. But this has been playing out in the front page of the newspaper now for almost a week. I've had my friends, I've had my neighbors, I've had my family call and ask me, were you involved in that? He says, and I told him no. He says, you know, I used to be proud to tell people that I was a firefighter in this department. Now I don't even want to tell them where I work. It's not just the embarrassment to the city. It is just an embarrassment to everybody that works for the city. And it has taken dramatic tolls on city employees across the state. I've done training in every one of our 48 cities. So I've had an opportunity to spend a lot of time talking to employees, supervisors, managers, directors, and elected officials. This is an area that we simply want to make sure isn't going on in an organization. Now, everyone in this room is protected under both federal and state laws. And on the next two slides, I've got a listing of your protected classes. So under the 1964 Civil Rights Act, race, color, religion, national origin, and sex are all protected classes. Under state law, they have the same 5, and they've added a few: ancestry, age, creed, handicap, marital status, arrest, conviction record, sexual orientation, sexual harassment, military service, use or non-use of lawful products off the employer's premises during non-working hours, unfair honesty testing, genetics, and declining to attend a meeting or participate in any communications about religious or political matters. So those are the protected classes with respect to discrimination and harassment at a federal and state level. And I should have said this to start with. If you have a question during the presentation, all you have to do is raise your hand and I'd be happy to stop. But I'm trying to meet your time restrictions. All right, so what is and isn't harassment? To me, this is a pretty good list. First of all, harassment is deliberate, repeated behavior, unwelcome, not asked for, not returned. It's one-sided. It causes an uncomfortable working environment, and it frequently makes someone feel intimidated. That, to me, kind of lays out a foundation. There are 3 forms of harassment in the state of Wisconsin. Not in all states, but in the state of Wisconsin, there are 3 forms. The first one is quid pro quo. The next one is hostile working environment. Those are both under federal law. And the third one is harassment perpetrated by an agent or supervisor of the employer, regardless of whether it creates a hostile working environment. And I'll cover that one in a little more detail in just a minute. So quid pro quo. You do something for me, or I will do something, and I will do something for you, or if you don't do something for me, I will do something to you. And that's normally a power kind of situation. That's a situation where we've got a supervisor, we've got an employee. And when tangible adverse employment actions occur, which means I do a demotion, I take away pay, I give you all the crummy work assignments, that's quid pro quo. Hostile working environment, and I thought what I'd do is take this out of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals decision in 2005. I thought it spelled it out well. Harassment must be both subjectively and objectively so severe or pervasive as to alter the conditions of her employment and create an abusive working environment. Consideration is given to the following circumstances: the frequency and severity of conduct, whether it is threatening or humiliating or merely offensive, and whether the harassment unreasonably interferes with the employee's work. Now, I'm going to tell you that that's a relatively high bar. I have read hundreds of hostile work environment cases, and you would be shocked at what wasn't considered a hostile working environment based on conduct in the workplace. We're going to get to the Sanderson case in just a minute, and that changes things dramatically. All right, this 1998 Supreme Court decisions, Boca Raton, Florida, and Burlington Industries. They gave us what's called the affirmative defense. The court holds the employer vicariously liable for supervisory conduct constituting sexual harassment when a tangible adverse employment action is taken. As I said earlier, we have no defense for you. If you have a supervisor, a manager, a director doing this kind of stuff, we're just going to end up in settlement mode. Absent a tangible adverse employment action, the employer can raise an affirmative defense comprised of two elements. The first one, the employer exercised reasonable care to prevent and correct promptly any sexually harassing behavior. What do you think we have to do to meet that one? This is the interactive part of the program. What do we have to do? All right, so if we see it going on, we have to do an investigation. What else do we have to have in place? All right, so there's got to be consequences if we find the harassment went on. But let's move it a little further up. What should we start with?
Policy and rule.
Absolutely, we've got to have a policy. That policy, by the way, has to allow for bypassing the harasser. So if the harasser happens to be my supervisor, the policy can't say I've got to go up the chain of command because that blocks my ability to report it. Along with that, what are we doing tonight? We're training. And so we've got to train employees. It's not enough to have the policy. Boca Raton had a policy, and the male supervisors were sexually harassing the female lifeguards, and they paid huge money. They had a policy, but they never trained on that policy. And it's not only training once, it's training and education. And that's an ongoing aspect. If we do those things, we can raise the affirmative defense for you, which should get it dismissed early on. The second element within that is the plaintiff employee unreasonably failed to take advantage of any preventive or corrective opportunities provided by the employer or avoid harm otherwise. So we have a young lady that walks into an employment area. She's dressed provocatively, mini skirt kind of thing, not really business type of dress. She walks in and there's a group of other employees, other supervisors, and they're telling jokes. So she jumps in and starts telling these jokes with them. But pretty soon they start teasing her about her appearance and the jokes turn on her. She eventually gets upset, she files a claim, gets to the courts, and the judge dismissed the case. Why? She participated. You know, I mean, if you want to have a defense for harassment, then you need to follow your procedures, and you've got to say no. You don't participate in this. And there's just story after story after story like that. So, you know, one of the things I tell employees, and I've trained literally thousands of employees across this state, what I tell them is, we can have fun at work, but there is a line. And you've got to understand that there may be things you do at home or with your friends in the evening that's fun. You just can't do all of that here. And it's that plain and simple. And once we understand crossing that line can put your organization in jeopardy financially, that's where we need to go. All right, so we've talked about a policy that defines harassment, a complaint procedure, communications, training, education, investigation, and prompt corrective action. The third form of harassment under Wisconsin state law is harassment perpetrated by an agent or supervisor of the employer, regardless of whether it creates a hostile work environment. That's huge. Now, when this case came out, when the Handy Gadgets came out, the first thing we did was to contact our attorneys and ask the question, tell us who an agent of the employer is. Are elected officials agents of the employer? And the answer is yes. And that's what really started my coming out and doing these presentations to our councils, is because we need you to understand this court case. We need you to understand exactly what can happen at any level in your organization. So the Sanderson case goes like this. The commission decided that the affirmative defense under federal law does not shield employers from liability of claims of hostile work and environment brought under the Wisconsin Fair Employment Act if perpetrated by an agent or supervisor. This is the latest out of the Wisconsin Equal Rights Digest. I'm not going to read it to you. It's in your handouts. But this pretty much explains that if we have one offensive comment, that could rise to the level of violation under state law. Now, we've educated supervisors across the state of Wisconsin because we want them to understand that when you take on that supervisory role, you take on a new responsibility and you become a higher level liability for your organization if your behavior isn't consistent with the law. So from my perspective, it's important for everybody to understand comments and our actions can create a problem for us. And state law's bar is much lower than the federal bar is. Retaliation, there's two types of retaliation which employees are protected from. First of all, opposing any practice made under unlawful by anti-discrimination statutes and participating in the proceedings brought pursuant to the law. An employee that files a charge or an employee who participates in any way in the investigation is protected under the law. So there's a female employee working for an insurance company in the state of Wisconsin, not ours, by the way. Actually, they got a really nice golf course, but I won't give you the name. And this insurance company's manager, one of the managers, a clerical employee goes to him and says, I'm being harassed by my supervisor. The manager goes with the employee to the Human Resource Department to make a formal complaint. Move it forward a little bit. They get to the point of moving it to litigation, and the attorney for this insurance company brings the manager in and says, your name is on her witness list. Why? And he said, well, it's because I know what was going on, and I am a witness. And he said, it's not in your best interest to be a witness. She wins her case. 6 months later, he gets transferred from Wisconsin to Texas. 6 months after that, he gets demoted, and 6 months after that, he gets terminated. And a year later, he picked up a check for $1.2 million. It was the first whistleblower's case in the state of Wisconsin. It's not just people who are being harassed or discriminated against that are being protected. It's anybody else who's involved in the process, from witnesses to others. The scope of retaliation dramatically changed based on the Burlington Northern and Santa Fe Railroad case. What they basically said in this case was this: if a supervisor's actions would dissuade other employees from filing a complaint of harassment, those actions rise to the level of retaliation. Now remember when I told you, retaliation's gone from 37 to 48%. It's the #1 cause of action against employers across this country. So we have two employees, a white employee and a black employee. The black employee trains the white employee to do a job. A few years later, they're both up for promotion. The white employee is promoted. The black employee files a discrimination suit. The employer won the discrimination suit. But this is what happened while that was going on. The supervisor got upset that the black employee filed a complaint, and he brought all of his employees in and he told them, I don't want you to talk to this employee, and by the way, I'm moving his office to the other side of the plant. They win the discrimination suit and they lose a $400,000 retaliation claim. So I just want you to know the bar in this world has also dramatically dropped. Our commitment to your organization. We've created a model policy. You've got a good policy. We conduct employment practices liability training on site for supervisors every year. We try to provide harassment, anti-harassment training for employees every 2 to 3 years. And the other thing that we do differently than any other insurance company, we don't have to wait for a claim to be filed with us before we're willing to come in and help. And I've helped hundreds of situations with our members over the years that I've been with CVMIC that never got to be a complaint or a claim because we were able to resolve it at an early stage. And that's our commitment to you. Impact. If allowed to go on, harassment can have a devastating impact on an organization. Loss of morale. I saw the entire command staff of a police department leave, the entire command staff, because of the harassment situations that were going on in their organization. Reduced productivity in accidents, increased sick leave, higher health care premiums, turnover, and difficulty attracting people. Even though you don't intend to harass someone, you must consider the impact of your behavior. When someone's disrespected in the workplace, how quickly do they get over that? I like the term just short of never. They lay awake at night figuring out ways to get even. We can disagree on issues, but we don't have to disrespect the people we don't agree with. We can do it in a civil way. And that's where I've seen so many of these cases started with disagreements and then they got into discrimination or harassment. Respect to me in the workplace is critical. If harassment's going on, what should we be doing? We got to report it. We got to see that it stops. Don't be a bystander. Thank you. Any questions that you have?
Thank you, Rick. You guys, any questions on anything you talked about? I mean, the first part was a little bit more about CVMIC and their role, but it's harassment, and I think we got 2 more of these sessions to do here to make sure that the council's all staff is properly trained. Any questions for Rick? Thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next month. Right.
We're on to public hearings. Miscellaneous ordinance number 2-18, an ordinance adopting an amendment to the Smart Growth 2022 Comprehensive Plan of the City of Green Bay to revise the land use of property located at 1003 Pine Street and 1000 Main Street from medium intensity retail office housing to commercial. General Ordinance number 18-18, an ordinance amending and creating sections of Chapter 13 Green Bay Municipal Code relating to the historic preservation of sites, structures, and districts. And zoning ordinance number 11-18, an ordinance creating a planned unit development overlay district for property located at 1060 Gray Court. And zoning ordinance number 12-18, an ordinance creating a planned unit development for the proposed residential development located in the 200 block of North Van Buren Street.
All right, so is there anyone here tonight who would like to comment on any of these 4 items as stated by the clerk? This is the public hearing on the miscellaneous ordinance 218 and general ordinance 1818, zoning ordinance 1118 and 1218. Anyone wish to comment on any of these 4? Anyone wishing to be heard? All right, we'll let the record show no one came forward.
We're on to ordinance's 3rd reading and may under suspension of the rules take up items 1 through 9 with a roll call vote.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, seconded by Alderman Stoyer to suspend the rules so we can take all of these together. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. What are your wishes regarding these? All right, there's a motion. Okay. So we're going to take that motion from you, Alderman Scannell, to at now take up third reading ordinances 1 through 6 and item 9. There's a motion to adopt these, seconded by Alderman Stevens. If you'd use the board here, how come I'm not getting this on the board? Alderman Nicholson, there you go. And Alderman Vanderleest, Alderman Nicholson. Andy, Alderman Nicholson, you got to vote.
Pops up, I will. You're not voting. What do I get? Show me where to go.
Great system work. Do you like the suspense? Actually, it's going to be unanimous. We just gotta. Can you just take it on a voice vote? Okay. All right. So Alderman Nichols. All right, we got it. Thank you. So those items 1 through 6 and item 9 have been passed by the council on a unanimous vote. So let's go to item 7. What are your wishes regarding General Ordinance 19.8, item 7 under report? Is motion to adopt Alderman Scannell? Second by Alderman Stevens. Alderman Vanderleest.
Thank you, Mayor. This is related, number 7 is related to the registration fee of
Yes, sir.
$20 extra for each vehicle. I'm not supporting that. I would be a nay on that vote on number 7.
All right.
Thank you. If we want to get into number 8.
Let's do 7. I want to take these one at a time now because, so this is, we're going to vote now on item 7. Item 7 is an ordinance creating the Green Bay Municipal Code. That's the municipal vehicle registration. That's the wheel tax. And if you want to vote on this, please, item 7. All right, that passes on a vote of 10-2. Thank you. We're now on to item 8, which is General Ordinance number 13-18. And that is an ordinance really with the name change to Protection and Policy Committee. Alderman Vanderleest.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to keep the word protection, welfare, and policy. I had talked to our chairman, Mr. Scannell, and he said he was okay with that. We'd like to keep the protection and welfare part of it. In other words, keep the word welfare in there. I think it covers a lot of ground as far as, people that are coming before our committee. In other words, I want to add just one word, welfare. In other words, keep protection and welfare. Just add that one word. That's all.
Look, I'm going to do whatever you want. The welfare department was transferred over to the county a long time ago, and we never changed the name. But if you want that in there, that's fine, Alderman. I just want to tell you that was the discussion and why that was moved out, because we no longer have the food stamps. We no longer have the, in quotes, welfare program.
Okay.
But I just want you to know why that recommendation was made.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I'll resend that then. We'll just keep it as it's written. Depends on.
Look, we have a lot of responsibilities here, but they do over there too, and that's just one of them. But I'm going to do whatever you want. But I just want to tell you that is the reason.
Okay. Then we'll go along with that then. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, item 8 is on the floor, ready for a vote, and that's the name change to Protection and Policy Committee. And if you'd use the board here. All right, thank you, and that passes unanimously. Okay, Chris.
We're now on to L, Report of the Redevelopment Authority, August 14th, 2018.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell and seconded by Alderperson Dorff to approve the report of the Redevelopment Authority, and that was for the meeting held on August 14th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report's been approved.
Mayor,
yes, sir.
we just have an abstention recorded for items 1 and 2.
All right, we'll note that.
We're on to M, Report of the Improvement and Service Committee, July 30th, 2018.
I'll entertain a motion by Alderman Scannell, seconded by Alderman Weary, to approve the report of the Improvement and Service Committee that was for the meeting held on July 30th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report, item M, has been approved.
We're on to N, Report of the Protection and Welfare Committee, August 13th, 2018.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stevens, to approve the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee for the meeting held on August 13th. Are there any items in this report, 1 through 16, that you'd like to handle separately?
10.
Item 10? And 14. Okay, so 10 was pulled by Alderman Scannell, 14 by Alderperson Dorff. Hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. And all items have been approved with the exception of 10 and 14, which... What are your wishes regarding item 10? It's a motion to approve by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer. Alderman Scannell. Hang on, let me get your light. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I know Mr. Hudson is here, and he would like to address the council. So I'd like to make a motion to open the floor.
All right, so there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer, to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. So we're under the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee, specifically item 10. Item 10 is to deny the appeal of Robert Hudson, objecting to the decision that his dog was declared dangerous. I have two people who want to speak on that. We'll begin with you, Mr. Hudson, and you're followed by Brian Bosser, B-O-S-E-R-S. And here I'd like to hold our comments to 3 minutes. So if you could, you'll have the floor. Let me get you mic'd up here. And if you just begin by stating your name and address, please.
Yep, I'm Robert Hudson. Address is 1228 14th Ave, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
All right, thanks.
Good afternoon. I am here to inform you of new information in regards of my dog being deemed dangerous and also being blamed for or accused on an attack of another dog. With the vet records, at this time I've requested numerous times to have the vet record released to me, as I have had my dog's jaw measured to verify the bite marks, whether it was or wasn't my dog. Currently the owner, Karen, is still refusing to release the vet records to me. At the Protection and Welfare meeting, Officer Mavis also had photos that were not released to me, and when I spoke to Randy about it a day after, he said that's something that I should have been aware of and had in my possession prior to the meeting. Also at the Protection and Welfare meeting, Karen presented a petition that she had written up. She had a petition that stated the neighbors, after presenting details surrounding the attack, I went to the neighbors that she had listed on her petition of who signed of my dog being dangerous and feeling threatened. They all said that they gave her a verbal sob story of what happened to her attack, and there was no actual petition besides just a signature pad that they had signed. It was stated by several neighbors that that agreed to sign the petition is basically for her to leave their property so she would move on. It should be noted also the properties that she had listed was on the back side of my property along Wirtz, nothing attached or co-alliance to my lot. I did draw up my own petition, which I brought to the exact same neighbors, including the ones that she had, and had them sign verifying whether they did see the written petition, if they knew what they were signing for. I did receive, most of them did sign mine, verifying that they didn't understand what they were truly signing for. I have drawn a map here for everyone here to see. The green square is where I currently reside, where I live. In the blue boxes are the residents that I had signed my petition, which I do have here, stating that they never once felt threatened of my dogs or seen my dogs running loose or at large. The red boxes that you see along Wirtz here and then one over here on 14th Ave are the ones that signed her petition. I went to the ones with the stars along over here. The ones with the blue stars are the ones that signed my petition, stating they didn't understand what they're truly signing. And they signed mine stating that they don't feel threatened or know what my dog is, who my dog is, or what he looks like. Also, with the witness or protection and welfare meeting, everyone was sworn under oath to tell the truth. They stated under oath that there was no dogs running around the neighborhood at large, which is false. I've seen numerous reports, and I also have a video of a stray dog running up and down our streets with no one around it, so it's basically unsupervised. I also have proof that, or they also said that it could have not been outside of his property due to him not walking Ozo and Snoopy along the streets. I do have a photo of him walking both dogs out on the streets, which does open up that it may have been another dog. Also, I have taken the steps of precaution, which Randy did offer, of putting up a 6-foot privacy fence, which would guard up any accusing or anything with my dog regarding my dog of being dangerous to anyone else. We did buy the fence. We do have the fence. We are waiting on the Diggers Hotline to approve us to start digging. I still believe that my dog did not attack Snoopy. As yet to this day, I still have no veterinary report or proof besides Gene's word. And after hearing the lies of when he was under oath, I do believe that Gene is untrustworthy and that he is no longer a credible witness to this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brian? All right. Next, we'll have Brian, B-O-S-E-R-S, I think, and then Danielle Lind Parati. Hi.
Good evening. Brian Boschers.
Okay, thanks.
1117 Jamar Street, Howard Municipality. As I had mentioned in the Wellness and Protection Committee, we have been where the dog has been residing since he's no longer welcome in Green Bay until this denial has been heard. He's been in our care for nearly as long as he's actually been at their residence. And we have a fenced-in yard. We're surrounded by many dogs on several sides, dogs that come visit neighbors. We've not once had an issue with the dog attempting to get over the fence or even acting threatening towards the dogs through the fence. We currently have a dog he gets along very well with, as well as small cats and children, and we have seen no signs of aggression or viciousness from this dog. And again, he's been in our care for the last several weeks, and that's just as long as he's been living in Rob Hudson's neighborhood. So I find it hard to believe he would have jumped a fence there, but not in our location.
Thank you. Okay, Danielle? Do you just want to come up to the podium and state your name and address?
Hi.
Hi.
Danielle Lynn Paradise, 222 Deshane Place, Green Bay, Wisconsin. I met Kane on August 23rd. I'm actually a certified dog trainer. I've been working with dogs for 5 years plus many, many years working in dog kennels. I have seen aggression dogs. I have seen dogs that shouldn't be around other dogs. I brought my own personal dog on August 3rd to meet Kane for the very first time. He never once attacked my dog. He never once went after my dog. I have a 2-year-old Border Collie Shepherd mix named Jarvis. I went up to the fence with Jarvis to meet Kane, to see if Kane would jump the fence to go after my dog. He did not. We were by the fence for about 5-10 minutes, had no issues. Then I had the owner of Kane, and I went for a walk. I had both dogs on opposite sides, brought them closely together slowly. No aggression, no issues, no problem. During our walk, we all saw a small dog. He showed no aggression. He could care less about that dog. He cared more about going for a walk and having a good time with my dog than the dog that we saw on the corner of the street. Went back to the where the dog is staying in Howard. My dog and him were off leash in the backyard. No issues, no aggression, no problems whatsoever. So personally, I don't understand why this dog is being accused of jumping a fence. He's in a 4-foot fence. He never once jumped it. I've seen dogs over 10 years, 11 years plus. He never once jumped the fence when I was there during that time frame. I was there for about an hour and a half. No aggression, no issues, no problems. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then Jean Moss, if you'd like to speak.
Gene Moss, 994 9th Street. I'd like to start off, I don't believe if any gentleman would call anybody incompetent unless he can prove it. I am not incompetent. Secondly, I've got about 40 things, but I can't give them all.
Yeah, you got about 3 minutes, so
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
I've never walked my dog in the driveway, in the road. The only time I walk in the road when I go from curb to curb. You know, like that. Or when I go see John, who lives across the street from Robert, I have to walk across at an angle, because there's a driveway right there and there's no traffic to speak of. Okay, as far as Karen's other dog doing all this damage, this dog weighs about 24, 25 pounds. The Robert's dog, he told us when he came over the same night it happened, it weighed 80 pounds. Now all of a sudden it's 67 pounds, or 63 I guess it was. Wish I could lose weight like that. There's no way in heck that this dog, Cinnamon's his name, could possibly get his mouth over my black Chihuahua like he did. It come from the side. One of his guys went in by the backbone. The other one went into the bottom. That distance is about that far. That's what it's a fat Chihuahua, and so he did do it. Okay, can I tell you please how this all came about? My daughter had cancer. She was in Minnesota, and they wanted her to be a kind of a goodwill person. And she was on the way back, so she asked me if we'd take care of their 3 dogs. They live in Decatur. I said, sure. So they want to go out in the backyard and go potty. So for some reason, I don't know why, I followed them. Usually I open the door, dogs take off, they have a ball. This time I opened the door and I followed them. I guess about the middle of my yard, and I turns like this, and here's this mastiff across the fence. I look back at my 3. He's got his feet up on the fence. Right up here, this much is above the fence. His elbows, if you want to call it that, are on the fence like this. I look back, and here he's on this side of the fence. My side of the fence. First he takes after Cinnamon. Cinnamon faster, runs towards my house. Then he grabbed my black Chihuahua, and I heard my Chihuahua screaming. So I ran over there, got them separated. That one, it ran towards my sunroom. All of a sudden, I'm hearing another dog screaming. That's the one that got seriously hurt. He had it right by the throat. This mastiff had this dog right by the throat. If I wouldn't have walked outside with either one of these dogs, I'd have 2 dead dogs, maybe 3. But I got him off my dog, this Snoopy, who's a little shyster. In fact, he's so small he walks underneath the other dog's bellies. Anyway, so I guess this mastiff off my daughter's Snoopy, it's a little black and white one. He's just screaming his head off. Likewise, my dog is also screaming his head off in pain. So I get him off. Now you got a fence here, wooden fence, about 4 foot, that's mine. You got my back fence here. I got the dog cornered in here. I'm about this far up to the corner. I'm waving my arms like crazy because they claim the bigger you appear, the best defense you've got.
All right, Mr. Moss, you got another minute, so please.
Okay. So I'm screaming at this dog to get over my fence. Get over where you belong. Get over where you belong. Get over where you belong. He turned around, put his paws up on the fence, took his hind feet over the fence and went. I'm a foot from it. Don't tell me it didn't climb over this fence. I have never said it jumped over this fence. Because a person with no brain at all tell you that a dog cannot jump over a 4-foot fence. I don't even think a deer can jump over a 4-foot fence. And I go on and on about things that were said that were untrue, but fictitious never got anybody anything. So the first thing, got back in the doctors, the veterinarians, the emergency hospital, because it was Sunday, and we were there 4.5 hours. Got back, I stood around a while in the house. The dog got a tooth coming out of his throat, out of his chest. I'm almost done, sir. Just give me a minute.
Well, yeah, that's fine. It's over 5 minutes. I try to be consistent, so.
Well, anyway, this did happen, and I don't want this dog around. I've got one fence, a fence on all 4 of my sides of my yard. I don't need another fence. I will not allow another fence in my yard. Thank you,
sir.
Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I had for people who would requested to speak. If you want to come up to the podium and make a comment. Try about 3 minutes.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
My name is Kim Martinberg. I own the property at 1228 14th. I've owned it for 25 years. Here's my stack of complaints from Gene. Over all these 25 years that I've lived there, complaining over dogs that I did not have, how they were running around neighbors' yards and defecating. He complained to the city when I was building my garage about using rotted woods, and the building inspector came out, we were rebuilding it, and he said, "What is this?" And my dad said, "Douglas fir." And the building inspector said, "Oh, this is perfect. This is more than what you need," and he left. So we have 25 years of Gene lying and turning us in for everything. I do have reports of Linda turning us in and saying that they complained about tree stumps growing through the fences and how I needed to take care of it, but there was fences on their yard. And then they also stated that I had abandoned my property several times. I was a single mom of 4 people working a job. I never abandoned my house. I lived there for 20 years. I've been renting it out for the past 4, and I'm just tired of being harassed by Gene. And I would love to see these guys get their dog back. I've done research on this type of dog. It's a very mellow dog, very nice. If you want copies of all this.
No. You can submit that to the clerk if you want for the record.
Okay,
well, I'm just
saying, it's all copies. Right. We've written it down. We have, for the past 25 years, we have 14 printed pieces. We went through the dates, and there's a lot of years that are missing too. There's at least a half a dozen complaints from Gene that are not in here. We had a house fire, and he turned us in because there was stuff in our backyard. Well, we had the house fire. The firemen took stuff out. It was being rebuilt, and he turned us in for that. I don't want to keep any more of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, and then we just don't get why he's not turning over the records from the vet, too. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else that wanted to speak to this issue, item 10, to deny the appeal of Robert Hudson? Anyone else? Anyone else wishing to speak?
Motion to return to regular order.
All right, so we got motion by Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderman Scannell to return to regular order. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Alderman Scannell, you had the floor.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. We went over this pretty thoroughly at committee. At committee, there was a possibility of a compromise where if Mr. Hudson paid the medical bills and put up a 6-foot fence, that he'd be able to keep his dog, but it would require everyone to be on board with that, and that is not the case. So at committee, I voted to deny his appeal. I appreciate his love for his dog. He's gone to great trouble and expense to defend himself, but there's no way I could look at Mr. Moss in the eye and say he's lying. I don't care what other issues surround him. In this particular issue, it's pretty detailed. and there is nothing to directly countervene his testimony. So I feel I have to respect him and his wishes as a victim, and so these cases are never fun. The dog, I'm sure, is a very lovable dog in many particulars, especially to the family, but I'm going to stand with my original vote and deny the appeal. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Chris Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention, I represented Mr. Moss for 10 years when I was on council, and had many frequent interactions with him. And it's been my experience that he's a gentleman of the first order. And he's very observant. Yes, he's very observant about his neighborhood, and he's very tenacious about it. But I don't doubt a word he said, so I have no reason to go against what the committee did, which I'll follow. Thanks.
Thank you. Alderman. Next is Alderman Mark Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm also on protection and welfare. It was an hour and a half, or it seemed like it. It was a long process. I stated that this dog probably is great 99% of the time, but it's always that 1% that you have an issue with. And everybody was sworn to tell the truth, and now we have people accusing people of lying. So he said, she said. We weren't there. We have to kind of understand that they swore to tell the truth. And Mr. Moss was the only witness to this. And I'm having a hard time with that, with the fact that why I will ask this though, why can't Mr. Hudson see the vet or police records about the bite marks? I guess that would be my only question. You know, if that were the case, we could look at it. I think the fact that he wanted a 6-foot fence, I mean, that's all fine and noble, but the fact that neighbors don't want it. So it was just a very, very difficult case, but I did vote to deny. So unless something else happens, I'm going to stay with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Jesse Burnett.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I did not see Officer Mavis here. I guess the question I would have for the police department is, what was it that Officer Mavis saw that would make this animal dangerous to the community?
Commander, can you comment on that?
Certainly can. Our dangerous dog ordinance, all the criteria was met in this particular case. It's ordinance 8.105, without provocation, and this is without provocation. The dog jumped over the fence. We have one eyewitness to this, and that was Gene. The dog attacked all 3 dogs, and it fell within the ordinance, and it was declared dangerous.
Is there any behavioral assessment that the police department conducts to determine with their own eyes what this dog has done or will do?
No, we don't do a behavioral assessment. We go on the assessment of what happened at that particular incident. This is an animal, and we, you know, even their own trainer came up and said they were with an hour and a half and never saw anything. That's a small portion of time with that animal. We don't know what provoked it, and I guess we'll never know because the dog won't be able to tell us.
Okay, thank you, officer. That's it.
All right. Alderman Bill Galvin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't know if anyone else received an email from the owner. Okay, she sent it to me alone, so I didn't know if she was just reaching out for me by mistake. But I just want to know the owner is not able to be here tonight. Otherwise, she'd be able to give her, and maybe she could answer some of those questions about why she's not letting him see the vet bill and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Brian Johnson.
These cases are never easy. I mean, it's neighbor disputes, I think, are probably one of the most difficult things that any alder will have to address, particularly when they're in your own district. And I think here, you know, what we have to do is evaluate kind of what the law is. And I think as it stands right now, the way that the law is written is the dog has been declared dangerous. And I think there's been a lot of evidence to discuss other things related to this incident, to try to discredit witnesses, to to talk about things like petitions and whether the neighbors want the dog gone or whether they don't, whether they felt duped into a petition, whether they didn't feel that way. I think it's honestly, at the end of the day, it's a bit irrelevant in that the ordinance is what it is. And here we have an instance with obviously an eyewitness who observed this in great detail. And I know that there's been discussion about the vet bills and why those haven't been released. And Karen, who is the daughter and who had their dogs at the place, did happen to send me a text late this afternoon sharing those bills, indicating that if they need to be made available, that she did not have objection to those, objection to sharing those. And essentially what she had indicated is, and I did review these, there's really nothing in there that would indicate, the nature of the bite or what it done, and that diagnostics at the time that the dog was brought to the vet, that the diagnostics were declined. So I think their, I don't want to say refusal, but maybe their reluctancy with releasing the vet bill was really nothing more than just they didn't say anything other than this is how much you owe us. So I just kind of want to share that and be open with that. But I think my heart on this one is torn, but certainly I think I go back again to what the rule of law is. And the rule of law is that the dog has been declared dangerous, and there is a citation to that end, and I think we do need to follow that.
All right, thank you. So that's it for lights. We'll use the board on this. This is to approve the motion and the second is to approve item 10. Item 10 is to deny the appeal. So a yes vote denies the appeal that the dog was declared dangerous. So if you use the board to vote on this, please. I guess we didn't need the board. Open Vander? Okay. Yeah, that was a unanimous vote. So the appeal's been denied, and council voted unanimously on that. So we're going to move on. Sorry. Just as a housekeeping thing, the two of you have wanted to speak, and you were for item 5, Mark Marucci and Tarl Knight. That was approved, so there's really no reason for you to come here and speak unless you really feel like it. So, all right, I just wanted, as a housekeeping thing, some people wait, and it's like, where's my item? That was approved, item 5. I know you both wanted to speak on that, but that wasn't necessary, and the council approved that. Okay, clerk?
We're on to 14.
Yep, 14. And what are your wishes regarding item 14? So motion by Alderman Scannell, seconded by Alderman Weary, to approve item 14 under the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee. Alderperson Dorff, I think you pulled that.
I did. I'm just seeking some clarification. So what does the ethics ordinance cover? Is that ordinance 1.9? Is that what we're talking about? We're not talking about the code of conduct here.
Yeah. Could I have our attorney comment on that?
Yes.
The ethics ordinance and the code of conduct are separate. If you guys felt that both needed to be sent to them, I'm not sure what their quote, if it covers both of them, but there's no problem sending both of them to it.
No, I just was curious as to what it covers. So we're just talking about 1.9, the ethics. Okay. It doesn't say both in the agenda. It doesn't.
We can just amend it to say the ethics ordinance and code of conduct.
Okay. Are you okay with that? All right. So you want to amend item 14 to approve submitting the questions legal departments to refer to the ethics ordinance to what?
I don't care to do that. I have more questions about it, but if someone else would like to amend that.
All right, Alderman Scannell. We're on 14.
Yep. We discussed both, and it was to be for both. So I'd like to amend this to include the code of conduct. Amend it to and then refer the ethics ordinance and code of conduct to cityethics.org for review. Thank you.
And so my next question.
I just want to get there's a second on that amendment by Alderman Weary. I'll go back to you. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wonder what authority, the cityethics.org. What is the experience of cityethics.org?
Attorney Chavez, why don't you take that?
Sure. So I actually reviewed their credentials. They are not licensed attorneys in the state of Wisconsin. They are attorneys who've done a lot of work in Florida. And what they have proposed to do is to do a review of the policy components of it, and then we would work with them to actually implement anything to ensure it actually would be consistent with Wisconsin law.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Hang on. I'm learning to Alderman Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would suggest if any older people have any questions specific to the policy ordinance, forward it to our city attorney, and then we'll forward that over to City Ethics. And I know I forwarded some emails on. City Ethics made it very clear that they just work on policy issues. They've done this a number of times. They're not familiar with the Wisconsin state law, and they would defer to our city attorney on that. So if we can tighten this up and find some things that we can improve on that other cities have already stumbled over, I think we'd be better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have two things on the floor. One is the amendment, so I'm going to take that up first. There was a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Weary, to amend item 14 for the ethics ordinance and code of conduct. So I'll take a voice vote on this. All in favor of that amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. All right, then I'll entertain a motion to adopt as amended.
Motion to adopt as amended.
By Alderman Scannell, second by Weary. If you use the board on this, it's item 14. All right, that passes unanimously as well. Thank you.
We're on to O, report of the Protection and Welfare Committee granting operator licenses.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderperson LaFave, to approve the report which grants the operating licenses. Are there any names under this report you wish to handle separately, abstain from, vote no on?
I got a question.
All right. Alderman, hang on. Alderman Nicholson.
When I was looking at the list of names, there was a name just DJ. Did anybody else notice that, or how can you just have I don't know, is that initials or is that a real name? I'm just curious, that's all.
When it goes to, when we get those, it does go to PD with a driver's license. So they do the background check by that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
I need to abstain.
Go ahead.
I need to abstain from Samantha Moss as she directly reports to me.
All right. So with that, there's a motion and a second to approve item O. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it with the abstention noted by Alderman Johnson.
We're now on to P, report of the Personnel Committee, August 14th, 2018.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderman Scannell, to approve the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee for the meeting held on August 4th. I'm sorry, the Personnel Committee held on, thank you, August 14th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Item 1, was that you, Alderman Burnett? Okay, item 1 was pulled by Alderman Burnett, item 7 by Alderman Scannell. Hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. All the items have been approved with the exception of item 1 and 7. What are your wishes regarding item 1? So motion to approve by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stevens. Alderman Burnett.
I would just like to be noted as abstaining from the vote.
Okay. Let me just see if there's anybody else.
Speak on number 7 as well.
Yep, we'll get to you.
Excuse me. When we abstain, are we supposed to give a reason why we're abstaining?
We, in the past, have asked for reasons why.
Sure.
But we can't actually require a reason why. So if you
that's
want
fine.
To that's fine.
Thank you, Alderman Galvin. I forgot to state a reason another time I abstained, and I don't like doing that. So the reason I'm abstaining from this particular vote is my wife's employer is Bellin.
Okay, so with that, there's a motion and a second to approve item 1. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Item 1 has been approved. We're now on to item 7. What are your wishes regarding item 7? Motion to approve by Alderperson Dorff, second by Alderman Scannell. Yeah. Just hit your light. Quite a few of you that want to speak on this. We will begin with Alderman Randy Scannell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't approve of term limits, but I certainly approve of the democratic process and democracy, and this is certainly an issue that has been around long enough that I have no problem advancing this on to the ballot and having the discussion and having the voters decide. So I do support it, even though I don't support term limits. But I would like to amend it. It seems to me that as a proposal coming from us, it doesn't seem fair that we don't include ourselves. I mean, it seems to me that if this is a good idea, it's a good idea and it should be effective immediately and it should include ourselves. And I think that also, as far as coming to the voters, makes it more real than just an idea that, you know, this is going to be take effect down the road. It makes people consider, well, this is going to be effective now, and there are consequences now, and I think that's a good thing to add to the discussion and debate, a good thing to realize. So I would like to amend the item to, I'd like to strike beginning with the 2019 election and put in beginning retroactively.
Why don't you say beginning with the 2007 election?
Well,
that's 12.
12.
Well, whatever.
Well,
okay. You want to go retro? I'm saying, well, anybody who was here in 2007 and they've been here for 12 years, it's 2019. You know, really, you and I are signing our death certificates here.
And I don't know about any municipal court judges. I don't know how long they've been on the bench.
Tell you what, you word it, but you want to go retro to if someone's been here over 12 years, they're not going to run again. So you word it.
I think, well, we could say beginning with, well, what if they were elected before 2000? It would be retroactive to, I think if we just put retroactively, doesn't that cover it? Does it need to be?
You can say to include current terms.
Okay, let's just to include current terms.
Strike that and say to include total terms.
To include, okay. So beginning with current terms.
I don't know if that says that. Beginning with current terms and for all elections thereafter, shall the total length of service for the position of mayor, alderperson, minister, judge be limited so that no person is elected consecutive terms more than 12 years. So beginning with current terms. Does current mean 2007?
I would strike beginning with 2019 election for all elections thereafter, and then add including current terms to the end.
Tell me that again.
So it would read, shall the total length of service for the position of mayor be limited so that no person may be elected to consecutive terms totaling more than 12 years, including current terms.
Yeah, I'll get
No?
it.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yep, that'll do.
All right, so there's a motion
Yep, thank you.
on the floor by Alderman Scannell, as stated by the attorney, that it begins with shall and ends with including current terms. So is there a second on that? That motion fails for the lack of a second. We are back to the original motion. Alderman Scannell, you still have the floor. Are you done?
I'll defer for the rest of, I may come back depending upon how the discussion goes, but I think I'm done for now.
Thank you. Alderman John Vanderleest.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not in favor of, I think every time the citizens go to the ballot box, they have the opportunity to either reinstate you or remove you, and I think that that's fine with me. And my thoughts are that we don't need any dictation of so many years. Some people get started after a few years, it takes them a few years just to get the gist of what takes place in city government. So I feel that the ballot box is where the moving forward or being removed, that's where it begins and starts.
Thank you.
Excuse me, begins and ends. Thank you.
Alderman Chris Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had some brief points that I put together for the committee, and I'll repeat those now. I think this is a solution looking for a problem. Turnover is not an issue on the Green Bay City Council. Look around. Currently, our council breakdown experience is we have 5 people with 0 years experience, 3 who have had 2 years, 1 with 4, 1 with 6, and 2 over 12. So 3/4 of our council have 4 years or less experience. I don't see an issue. It's not like we have 6, 8, 10 people here who have been here forever. So, you know, the arguments that incumbency is some great benefit, I think at the city council level is greatly overrated. If you don't do your job, you're gone. Number 2, it's very undemocratic. Removing a voter's choice is not democratic, and it's insulting to the voters. This is exactly telling people who they cannot vote for. If someone's doing really well for your district and you like them, you can't vote for them anymore. It's also kind of, I call it the Zimmer factor. Representatives from other districts cannot be reached through ordinary citywide voting, but they can be reached through term limits. The majority is imposing a limit on the minority. If some districts have long-serving aldermen that the rest of the city doesn't really care for, this is one way to supersede the voters of any given district. It's the city telling districts they know what's best for them. 3, new is not always better. It can be. I've seen many new alder people come through here. Some are raring to go, fresh ideas, they really have the best interest in the city. Some come in and they don't pan out, and they're definitely not better. So do we want just new people, new faces, or do we want people who have proven they've done the job or have the excitement about it? There's number 4, benefits of experience. Many long-term elected officials maintain their passion and vision. I think everyone would agree that our mayor in his 4th term has had plenty of ideas and passion in these past 4 years. So, you know, are we saying that his last term really was wasted? You know, I think he brought forward a lot of interesting initiatives. Long-term representatives build relationships with decision makers. They know the ins and outs of government. They know the history of issues. I don't know how many times through my tenure we've turned to Alder Nennig or Alder Zimma or Alderman Tyson, people who've been here 20, 30 years, and they can say, well, this is the way we've done it, and no one else knew anything about them. We need a blend of experience and new blood. So I would ask that we say no to this, and it's actually this mayor-driven referendum, and it should be worded as that. That's where it came from. It should be a citizen-driven initiative. I don't see a great groundswell from this in the community, people demanding this, demanding it. They're up in arms that we have to have it. I haven't seen that at all. It's come from one place. So I remember back on the removal vote for the mayor, we had a couple older people say that we shouldn't be voting on this. You know, this really should be driven by the people. If they want it, they should go out and raise the signatures and put it on the ballot. Same should be here. They have that avenue. They want to put on the ballot, go out, get the signatures, and put it on. Thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Galvin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have listened to Chris, read some of the articles you sent me, and I find compelling arguments to vote against term limits. At the same time, I've heard some other very good, compelling arguments to vote for term limits. I've had 2 constituents reach out to me. They're in favor of term limits, but that's it. I've only had 2. And we've had a lot of other issues before council where I've had a lot more input from people. Like I said, I'm on the fence. I'm going to support the referendum, and we'll let the voters decide. I mean, it's their democratic process. I think if they want term limits, then they should have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderperson LaFave?
I'm not going to support this one here. I believe in referendums, but I believe that the people need to those who are pushing, who want this, they need to come forward with signatures. I was involved with Move to Amend, and we got our signatures. I forgot how many thousands we had to get. It took us months. We worked diligently on this to get the signatures. We presented it to the council. We, reasons why and who signed. It was a nonpartisan issue. It was overwhelmingly, everybody said, oh yes, we believe in this. And we presented it, and the council then approved to put it on the ballot, and it passed. So that was a real good one that was done. Now, I would like to see the citizens to come forward with the petition drive, with the required number of signatures, then I will vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderperson. Alderman Brian Johnson.
A question for legal. Vanessa, to your knowledge, is initiative and referendum allowed in the state of Wisconsin?
Yes.
So, meaning that they can put it directly on the ballot and it doesn't just get referred back to council to decide if it goes on the ballot?
That's correct.
Okay. So I guess a couple, and the other question that I have is, should this pass, do the rules still rest with council in terms of deciding what the terms could be, meaning that if this council wanted to decide that the length of terms, could that be altered later?
Yes.
So changing council to 2 or to a 3 or a 4-year term, or the mayor to a 2-year term, and we have that flexibility to do that?
Correct. This would just be limiting it to the total number of 12 years.
Okay. Okay, so a couple things. I mean, I couldn't agree. I mean, I agree with Alder Weary, when he says new is not better. The way that this charter ordinance is written, however, is it doesn't inhibit an individual from running again. And so I think that's important, is that if the new comes in is not better, certainly you can run again and replace that person if the voters were to have you there. And the fact that it's undemocratic, I would ask, what's more democratic than a referendum and asking the people what they want? So I am going to support this because I do believe in people's choice and their right to be able to choose how they want to impose, I guess, the rules within the council that's elected to represent them. With that in mind, though, I would like to propose an amendment to this ordinance as it exists. Specifically, I would move to amend to eliminate the municipal court judge. And the reason that I would do that is because that particular position requires a different set of skills. It's judicial in nature, again, requires a different set of skills versus a legislative or an executive level position that just, again, that it doesn't require the same set of skills.
I'll second that.
All right, so that's what's on the floor right now. We have a motion and a second to strike municipal court judge on item 7. Anything else, Alderman? Okay, that's what's on the floor right now, is the amendment. Alderman Scannell?
Yes, I don't support that amendment. I do agree it's a little different, and I do think it's a little unfortunate that they're not really part of this process. We're kind of making things for them, making judgments for them. But if 12 years is that's what people think is a good thing, that term limits is a good thing, I believe it's a good thing across the board, including the judges. The skill set may be different, but the principle's the same, in that you don't want somebody sitting there for too long. Like I said, I disagree with term limits. I think there's plenty of good arguments against it, but I do believe that this process is democratic. I mean, this country, from its founding fathers, have had term limits for the presidency, both as a convention and then after FDR it was codified into law. I disagree with that, but again, that's our democracy. That's the way it is. And there's been talk for decades about term limits for other offices. So I don't think this is coming out of the blue. I do agree there doesn't appear to be a big groundswell for this, but I think it's an issue a lot of people are interested in, have always been interested in, and I have no problem advancing it and having the discussion. But I think without having heard from the municipal court judges, I'd be loath to pull them out. I think if we're going to do term limits, we should do term limits, and they should be included. Thank you.
I'm going to convey to you what the judge told me. He supports this. I talked to him today. I talked to the judge today. I read the resolution to him, the issue to him. He supports it. He was at my State of the City, so he's didn't know what's coming up tonight, but he supports it. I talked to Judge Hanson today. Anyway, this is on the amendment. Alderman Weary? It's on the amendment, striking the municipal judge. You're good? Alderman Vanless, did you want to speak on striking the judge? No, okay. I want to handle this. So there's a motion and a second to remove the words municipal court judge from item 7. And could you use a yes vote would remove it, a no vote keeps it there. Please use the board. A yes vote removes municipal court judge, a no vote, it stays in the motion. So that's a tie vote. Was that, did I count that right? 6-6. As chair, I vote no. So the municipal court judge stays in item 7. So we're back to the original motion on the floor. Alderman John Vanless, did you want to speak again to this? Yep. Nope. Alderperson Barb Dorf.
Mayor, I got a question.
Yep.
Can you just repeat that again?
What took place? Well, item 7 talks about referendums for 12 to hold the length of service for 12 years. It would be for the executive branch, which is me, the legislative branch, which is you. Yeah, just I want to explain it. And then the municipal judge is in there as well. So no one would serve more than 12 consecutive years. There was a motion and a second to remove the municipal judge from the original motion. That motion failed. So we're back to the original motion, which is the 12 years of service for executive, legislative, and judicial. What did you just? Oh, Alderperson Dorf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I've already said most of what I want to say. I do want to remind us all that on April 4th, 1995, 15,000 citizens voted yes to, in an advisory ballot, to limit the terms, and that was only to 2 consecutive 4-year terms, and the alderperson to 3 consecutive 2-year terms. But 15,000 citizens voted yes, and 8,580 voted no. So this has been around for a long time. This didn't just come out of the blue. I think there are a lot of good reasons, and I think we've heard most of them already. I don't need to repeat them, but I'm definitely in favor of putting this binding referendum to a vote by the citizenry, by the voters of the city of Green Bay, and seeing what their wishes are. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderperson Jesse Burdett.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like the idea for term limits on federal positions, state positions, where you have political parties that have made a mess of our governments on those 2 levels. On the local level, I don't see the threat for long-term public servants, because that's more what I think we are, public servants. I don't think that we're a political bunch. I do think that political parties, special interest groups, people who write big campaign checks have infiltrated local politics. So I think that that would be much more of a threat to our democracy and the efficient operation of our government and keeping competitive races, more so than long-term public servants, because I see this body and the county board as nonpartisan public servants. I know not enough about the 3rd district or the 1st district or the 10th district for me to be as arrogant to suggest that I think that I should vote on limiting the candidates that those voters and residents and taxpayers have to choose from. If they're happy with their alderperson, they should be able to vote them back in. Simple as that. I think term limits are very effective on the state or federal level. That will never happen. We think we're going to have this groundswell, this grassroots thing where we impose it on a local level, and it will go up the ladder to the state and federal level. I've grown much too cynical to ever think that that could happen. So for the local level, I'm going to try to make these races, any race that I'm involved in, so that the average person who's not politically connected, that doesn't accept endorsements from special interest groups or people who write campaign checks, that's all nonsense. I mean, really, that's the biggest threat than someone who has the heart and desire and time and passion to serve their community in a position that we all know is very difficult to attain and very difficult to retain. Lazy alders do not get reelected. Lazy alders who don't campaign very well don't get reelected. That's just my experience. I've been following local politics. I've been involved. I was able to defeat some long-term incumbents. And in this race, you know, there were 4 of us who ran. And I wouldn't be sitting right here if I didn't work hard and have a passion. And that's something I'm going to carry on. So I like the idea just on the local level. Like Alder Chris Weary said, I think it's a solution looking for a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderperson Lefebvre?
If this council votes to go ahead with referendum, I would like to make a request that it not be on the fall election, that it be on the next spring, because that's when all these positions are usually on the spring election. And because there might be a confusion as as he mentioned, that people might think that this goes up to the state and the federal. Sometimes people don't read things properly. They'll quick read it and say, "Oh yeah, term limits, yeah," and they might confuse it. So I would like it to be on the spring election. Thank you.
Alderman Mark Stoyer. Hang on. Alderman Mark Stoyer.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. When I hear the word term limits or term limits, I always think of probably the federal government more so. I mean, as we grew up over time, when you look at politics, you look at people that have been in office 10, 20, 30, 40 years. They have large PACs. They have large amounts of money, that type of thing. I kind of defer a little bit to what Alderman Burnett said about the fact that, we're local. Granted, we are politicians, but the bottom line is it's the ballot box that takes care of that. If you work hard, I ran against an incumbent as well. I walked a lot of miles, knocked on a lot of doors. So I think that is the bottom line. Let the voters decide. I realize you're talking about a referendum. There may be some folks that are well versed in this and maybe others that are not. I think the ultimate test here is the vote, the voting booth. So I concur with Alders Burnett and Weary on this. Thank you.
All right. Use the board. This is item 7. It's to put together a binding referendum beginning with the 2019 election. For all elections thereafter, length of service, mayor, alderperson, municipal court judge be limited. So no person may be elected to consecutive terms more than 12 years. All right. The vote on item 7 is tied at 6-6. As chair, I'm going to cast a vote affirmative, so that passes on a vote of 7-6. Yep. Good. But hang on. Go ahead.
I would ask then that we hold this item until we receive an opinion from the Wisconsin Department of Justice regarding open meetings violations and walking quorums. Now, we've received notice that members of the city council can't meet with each other individually because we're going to be voting on items. Now, it's well known, at least to me and other people, that the mayor, by state law, is a member of our city council. It's the 13th member and has voting privileges, as we just saw. and therefore should be held to the same standards. And many other states put this right in their statutes. Now, ours has been silent on it so far. I have messages into the League of Municipalities, and I spoke verbally with the Department of Justice. While they concur verbally, they need a written request. Now, I know on a lot of issues recently, and especially on this item, many people spoke to you by phone and came in. And so I think that's a violation of the open meeting violation.
So my state of the city is a violation?
Mr. Mayor, you're not here to debate. Also in our ordinance is if you want to debate, you have to step down by our ordinance. So do not debate me and do not interrupt me.
I'm not debating you, but I'm telling you that this is on here tonight so that we can get this on the ballot in November.
I didn't ask you a question.
All right.
Okay. Don't interrupt, all right? Don't interrupt.
You didn't win.
Who didn't win?
You.
I didn't win.
Point of order. Yeah, come on.
No, I mean, come on. Now you're calling for some opinion. I mean, that's the way it goes.
So you just told me I didn't win.
Right. You're mad, and now you won.
No, I did. That's
well, go
usually
ahead.
reserved those comments for Alderman Zema, but he's not here, so I guess I get them. The point is, when you have people in one at a time, such as if we would do it as council members, we could persuade people, whatever it took. You know each person's personality, you know what it'll take, the soft sell, the hard sell, whatever you need to get your 6 votes, or 7 if it's an alderman. That's why it's not allowed. Those discussions need to be held in public forum so everybody can see it, not behind closed doors. That's the reason for it. And so I'm challenging your vote.
Okay. Anyone else? Oh, no, I'm not changing it. I mean, that's state of the city. Everybody knows I'm in favor of term limits. Just explain my position again, like I do on a lot of things. All right. Are we moving on? Let's continue.
We're now on to Q, Report of the Plan Commission, August 13th, 2018.
There's a motion by Alderman Nicholson, seconded by Alderman Scannell, to approve the report of the Plan Commission for the meeting held on August 13th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Item 1. 2. That corporate stacks that pulled? Okay. All right. Hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. So report Q has been approved with the exceptions of item 1 and 2. What are your wishes regarding item 1? The motion to approve by Alderperson Corpus Dax, second by Alderman Scannell. Alderperson Corpus Dax.
I believe there is representation on the seller's behalf here that would like to speak. So I just want to motion to open the floor. Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Alderperson Corpus Dax, seconded by Alderperson Dorff to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The council is now discussing report of the Plan Commission, specifically item 1. That was to deny the request to amend the City of Green Bay Smart Growth Comprehensive Plan for the properties located at 3500 block of East Mason Street from commercial to business park land use. Anyone here tonight who'd like to speak to that specific item? Anyone wishing to speak to that item? Sir, if you want to just come up, state your name and address for the record. Yeah. Yeah. Except items 1 and 2. Hi.
My name is Jerry. I live on Finger Road right across from the number 1. I've lived there for 40 years. And we don't need any more big buildings and trucks out there. We have trucks going 7 days a week now across the street on East Mason. And that's enough. And the staff commission recommended denying it. The committee recommended too, so. That's it.
Are you you're then in support of?
Yes, denial.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions for this? All right. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to return to regular order.
Motion to return to
By Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. We're back in regular session. Alderperson Corpus Dax, you have the floor.
Just looking to, move to approve. I thought the representation for the sellers were here, and it asked to have the item pulled, so that's why I pulled it.
Okay, but doing your
they're not
job.
here.
All right. So we have a motion by you, seconded by Alderperson Dorff, to approve item 1, which is the denial of the request. Any other discussion here? Okay, see no other lights. All in favor of that item 1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and item 1 has been approved. We're now on to item 2. Item 2 is to deny the request to amend the City of Green Bay Smart Growth Plan. The property is located 1600 block West Mason Street from low-density housing to commercial use. What are your wishes regarding this report? There's a motion to approve by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderperson LaFave. Alderman Vanderleest.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to open the floor for interested party to speak. Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Vanderleest, second by Alderman Burnett to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. The council is now discussing, again, the report of the Plan Commission, specifically item 2. Item 2 is to deny the request to amend the Smart Growth Plan. This is for the property located on the 1600 block of West Mason Street from low-density housing to commercial land use. This is the Arby's property. Anyone here who wants to speak to that specific item, if you just want to queue up behind the podium. Anyone want to speak to that tonight? Anyone wishing to be heard? Oh, here. Would I ask if you would just come up to the podium and let us know your thoughts. I do have some people who asked to speak to this. Is Richard Toth here? T-O-T-H? Here, why don't you come on up here, Richard? Do you want to say something about this? No, I didn't want to speak. Oh, you didn't. You're right. And your wife is here as well. And Mary Mathis is here and didn't want to speak. Audrey Cole's here, didn't want to speak. But Candace Cole does want to speak.
Hi, that's me.
All right.
My name is Candace Cole. I live at 1653 Birch Street. I am here to oppose the Arby's change. I've lived in that neighborhood. Well, first of all, I'm a teacher in the Green Bay City Schools, and I've noticed a lot of families moving out of the Green Bay area to surrounding areas such as Howard Swamico, Ashwaubenon, East and West of Pier. So we're losing a lot of families. This neighborhood that I currently live in, I was born and raised in that neighborhood. My mother, who is 83, still lives in the same house I was born and raised in for 62 years. Many of the neighbors have been there. That neighborhood started 65 years ago, and at that time it was a very rural setting. Obviously, we are now in the midst of a more urban setting. But we have neighborhoods there, neighbors who have been there over 60 years. This is a small neighborhood, all single residents owned by the original owner or perhaps second or third owner, but they're all owner occupied. It's a very quaint neighborhood. There's one entrance and one exit in and out of the neighborhood. We have generations living in this neighborhood. Grandparents, siblings, cousins. When somebody moves out, one of their siblings takes over that home or somebody else in the family. So this is one of those few neighborhoods left in the city of Green Bay that I think that we should be fighting to keep. One of the current problems there is traffic. There's an inadequate way of getting in and out. If you want to get out of that neighborhood and go right or head east onto Mason Street, you can take the right turn. But if you want to exit and go left or west onto Mason Street, it's a long, long wait.
Another minute.
Well, I'm the only one. So I was there this morning and took lots of photographs. To get out onto Mason Street, there was an elderly man crossing the road. The green light gave him 3 seconds to cross. He only made it to the Meridian, and then the light changed and traffic moved. Okay. So I sat and documented, it takes 4 minutes wait to get out onto Mason Street. We've complained to the city numerous times about getting that changed. So building an Arby's there would not be in the best interest of our residents there. The original zoning was for single and multifamily. When we went to the council, the city planning, they denied Arby's request. I think the families in this neighborhood are much more valuable in asset to the city than Arby's, who is owned by a man that lives in Ohio. And the woman who owns those homes lives in Oak Creek. So none of them have a vested interest in this community. I and all of those people in the back row are here because they don't want to see their neighborhood changed. We took a look at Arby's today. I took photographs. They have promised to do some things if we give them this land or if they're allowed to purchase this land. I went there and took photographs. There's potholes in their current parking lot. They have dumpsters outside of their fenced-in area. One of their fences has a hole in it about 4 feet in diameter. Obviously, if they're not going to take care of their current property, they're not going to keep the privacy, and this quaint neighborhood is what we deserve.
Thank you. All right, Lynn DeWine. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure. Hang on, Candace. Alderperson Dorff?
Yes. Thank you, Candace, and thank you. I watched the Plan Commission and I heard all the arguments, and I'm just wondering if you are aware that Arby's has decided to stop pursuing the site, given the negative reaction at the Plan Commission last Monday.
No, we are all here because we were called, and all of those people in the back row have been here.
Right.
I was
given this information via an email, and I just happened to look at my email, and I thought perhaps it might be something that you would be interested in.
Of course we'd be interested.
All right, thank you. All right, Lynn, is it Linda Wine or Linda Twine on Mason Street? Did you want to speak? It said you would like to speak. Okay. Is Tim Matthews here? Tom Matthews? Okay, sir, if you'd like to come up to the podium. That's all I had. And after him, anyone else who wants to speak to this item is more than welcome.
Good evening. My name's Tom Mathias. I reside at 801 Mitchell Street. I've lived there for 25 years, and that is the intersection where Arby's was going to put the exit. I'm completely against rezoning it to any kind of light industrial, light commercial, whatever. Leave it for light housing, simply because it's going to be a traffic mess no matter what is built there. If they want, there's 3 houses, or I should say, what? Yeah, 3 houses there, and an apartment that's on the corner that's really on Mitchell Street. But the traffic issue that we're going to have, no matter what's put there, so I'm against rezoning it at all because I know what's going to happen. When she said that there is one way in and one way out, that's one street, Mitchell Street. That's the only way in and out of that cul-de-sac. And to have an entrance of any kind on there is going to be a traffic problem. We have a fire department, Fireman's Park, that's in and out of there. The fire trucks come back that way up Mitchell Street every time they go out, and it's very often. So any kind of development there is going to be bad.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak to this item? This whole Arby's thing on Mason Street. Anybody else want to comment on that? Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay.
Motion to return to regular order of business.
Motion by Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderperson Dorff to return to regular order of business. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Do you have it, John? Okay.
I recommend that the denial for the request be upheld due to the neighborhood association and all the neighbors and forth, and also the city staff. Their recommendation was for denial.
Right.
So that's my thoughts on it, and thank you.
Thank you. So if you want to use the board here, a yes vote denies this, right? This, we're on item 2, to deny the request to amend the plan. All right, so that passed unanimously, so the denial was upheld. Thank you for being here tonight. Sorry to keep you here for a couple hours, but it was worth the wait for you. All right.
We're now on to R, Report of the Finance Committee, August 14th, 2018.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Galvin, to approve the report of the Finance Committee, and that was for their meeting held on August 14th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Item 6 and item 7. Hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. All items under report R have been approved with the exception of items 6 and 7. What are your wishes regarding item 6? To approve. Motion approved by Alderman Scannell, second by, what was it? Oh, Alderman Galvin, Alderman Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess this would be a question for our city attorney. All claims against the city are public record, just not the discussion about them, or how do we?
It depends on the where we're at in the claims process. So the claim itself is public record. The discussion is not, and the result, is the information we have regarding our investigation does not turn into public record until after the statute of limitations is run.
Okay. So to clarify, there was a complaint here, a claim by Alderman Zima, correct? Allegations of defamation, denial of First Amendment rights, and conspiracy against Mayor Schmidt and yourself, Attorney Chavez, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the committee's action was to do nothing, correct?
To deny.
Okay. And in order to discuss that, would we have to go into closed session?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'd make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
All right, so there's a motion and a second to go into closed session to discuss item 6. And Alderman Weary, I'm going to ask you to read that language on there for the record.
The council may convene in closed session pursuant to section 19.85 subsection 1 subsection G Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to become involved. The council may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.85 section 2 Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda.
All right, we'll use the board here. This is to go into closed session would be a yes vote. A no vote would keep us here. All right, Alderperson Dorff and Alderman Scannell, you guys got to vote. Huh? Oh, they're both gone. I can't put the board up. Yeah, I don't know. We're just taking a break, man. Hey, what, they're the only ones with kidneys in this place? Bladders, I should say? Come on. Closed session, yes or no?
Yes.
All right, then hit your green light. And Alderperson Dorff? No, true.
Yeah, don't look that way.
Can I just hit that without her being here?
No, because then you're voting for her.
Yeah, no. Hell, I can't vote for myself. Much like her.
I voted.
Waiting for Alderperson Dorff.
Make a motion for a voice vote?
You think you can hear her from down there?
Well, I mean, she doesn't have to be here if we're doing a voice vote, right?
I'm pretty sure closed session has to be
Really? I thought we did
board
both
vote.
rooms before. I guess I remember wrong. Don't try to stare at her when she comes in.
Right. Actually, you guys can leave. I mean, you can go in my office because I'm just going to hit the button. It's going to pass. Alderperson Dorff, closed session, yes or no? All right. All right, that passes on a vote of 11 to 1. So we're in closed session. We'll be as quick as we can. I'm going to hit the pause button. And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Let me just get this queued up. We're back in regular session. Okay.
There isn't anything we have to report out, is there?
No, it was. Yeah, we discussed item 6. Should we get a motion, a second, to receive this and place it on file? Item 6. All right, there's a motion by Alderperson Dorff, second by Alderman Scannell, to receive and place on file item 6. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Item 6 has been received and placed on file. We're now on to item 7. What are your wishes regarding this item?
Motion to approve.
Is the motion approved by Alderman Scannell? Second by Alderman Weary. Alderman Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a few questions regarding this.
Right.
And I don't know if our finance director or Director Vonk would want to answer it, but in reading through the report, there's a lot of information there. It doesn't delve down super deep into the details like maybe a forensic audit would do, and which we probably do need. How much money was unaccounted for in the project that we're not sure where it went? I mean, we know it's within the project, air quotes, but how much money was there? Yourself or Director Vonk?
Director Vonk, you want to?
Sure. We also have representative, the receivers here this evening who ordered this examination. Can talk a little bit more about the specifics. You have questions about the process in terms of specific methods or procedures that were used in this examination. In terms of what was provided through this and money that was unaccounted for, the money is, at least our understanding is through the project, the money is all into the project, maybe not necessarily matching up with some of the receipts that were provided, but that the examination did find that all the money that was put into the project went into the project itself.
Let me rephrase the question. How much money is there that we're unsure of exactly where it went? Maybe it went to a ghost expense or an inflated cost. Like the $600,000 that was supposed to go towards kitchen equipment that we went, that's why I use air quotes, to the project, but there's a lot within the project that could be shady, that we're not sure where it went to. We just don't.
Sure. So it all went into the project. If you look at the air quotes in the end, the attachments, I think Exhibit B talks about the grand total of all payments, goes through and shows money that did go into the project, and that's where it comes out and will show, for the city's concern, the perspective of what money was used for Section 108 funds. But you'll see that all of the monies that were put into the project went into the project. I guess there's no missing money from the project.
Perhaps I'll try a third time. How much money that we paid to the project are we not sure that it went for what it said it was for? I think there's a specific couple paragraphs in there about it. Like I mentioned, the $600,000 for the kitchen equipment. There's a few other things like that. I mean, if you don't know, we can bring the expert up too.
Sure. So if you're talking about the things on page 7, there's a total variance between what was provided in receipts to the city and what was actually accounted for through this examination, and that difference was $850,948. That is the variance between the receipts that were submitted to the city and then what the examination found was actually spent in terms of those receipts. With that, going through and looking at the money into the project, that money was accounted for in other parts of the project, including the same expenditures which were HUD eligible under this terms of the loan.
So, but it is quite possible that some of those items that went for might not be what they appear. It could be inflated costs, or I mean, otherwise they would. Why would they not submit the correct amount? I mean, would a forensic accounting look into that? I've heard some talk of perhaps looking at fraud on Mr. Horrenda.
Sure. I mean, if you want to open the floor, I can defer to the receiver in terms of the specific examinations that was performed.
Good with that. All right, so there's a motion and a second to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, the floor is open. So we're discussing item 7 under the report of the Finance Committee. Item 7 specifically is to receive and place on file the information report of Hotel Northland audit completed by County Management Group, which was appointed by Paul Swanson, the receiver. Anyone here who would like to speak to that? Mr. Swanson?
I'm Paul Swanson, the court-appointed receiver, and here to answer your questions. In particular, your question, Alderman. Quite frankly, all the money that the city invested in this project went into the project. I think that my conclusion after looking at the entire thing is that, frankly, they didn't have enough money to finish the project. And when they lost the, he made some mistakes in his depository accounts. He then lost the commitment of Huntington Bank for the $12 million or so that he was going to get, which was supposed to be the final commitment, and he could not replace that financing. And I think I know why, and that's because he couldn't finish it for the $12 million. It would have cost several million more, plus the FF&E, which is another $3 to $4 million. So it became apparent why no other bank, I think, to me anyway, would finance the completion of the project without a significant equity contribution. And I believe that Mr. Horrenda tried to raise that equity, at least I think he did, and he couldn't do it. And ultimately the secured creditor here, Octagon Partners, couldn't let it go any further. And thank God they stepped in. And I've got to commend the city, quite frankly, on its participation in this project, its support. Your staff has done an outstanding job, and the continued promotion of the project, which is going to be one heck of a project, is very much appreciated. Mr. Horrenda, I don't know where the criminal stuff comes in. I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I think it's really just a matter of, I'm a bankruptcy lawyer. And I've been a bankruptcy lawyer for a long time and presided as a trustee and do still up here in Green Bay. Do a lot of work up here. This is just another developer that just didn't have the horsepower behind him to, financially speaking, I think, to take it across the finish line. And it's a great project. It's actually almost completed as planned. So I think if you've been through the project, you understand that it's going to be something for this city. So, but I'll answer any specific questions you have. I did commission the accountant to do this. Mr. Cowie works with me quite a bit. He is a forensic accountant. He does this type of thing. I do a lot of fraud examinations myself. I have an accounting degree as well as a law degree, so I'm pretty familiar with the numbers.
Anything else? Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. I appreciate you've been closer to this than anybody, really. You had mentioned the person who did the work is a forensic accountant, but that didn't mean he did a forensic audit on it, right?
Oh, he did.
He did. So this was a forensic audit?
Oh, I had him dig deep.
Okay.
There was a lot of things swirling around this when I first became involved, and there were a lot of unpaid claims here, and everybody was kind of wondering what happened here. So I really had him dig deep. That's not to say that I don't know what the profit margins were. I know what the original contract, I think it was 30 to 31 million in hard costs to take it to the completion, plus FF&E. So if you add up the numbers, he didn't have 31 million bucks to do it. So.
All right, that's all I have right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Bill Galvin.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson, and thank you for all the work you've done on this project.
You're welcome.
I just want to clarify some things. So you feel a audit was done that got right down to the nitty-gritty. And after seeing that audit, you do not have any concerns about any kind of illegal activity or fraud on the part of anyone from the city?
Oh, no,
Okay.
no, not at all. I think really the problem, and probably the one thing that KPA, well, actually Hotel Northland did, was ask both Octagon and the city to fund committed funds to an account which they knew was against the loan covenants, not the city or the Octagon, but Hotel Northland. And that was the element. The funds came into a BMO account instead of the Huntington Bank or First Merit account. That was a violation of the underlying loan agreement, and that allowed Huntington to say, you violated this, and therefore we're not going to honor our commitment. And I think Huntington, remember, First Merit merged into Huntington or was acquired, and I believe that the new bank came in and took a look at the loan because it had been committed, what, a year and a half before, and things had changed. And I think they were a little looking sideways at it, thinking, I don't think this guy can do it. And this gave them the opportunity to, frankly, I think, probably rightfully cancel the commitment. So the blame rests firmly on Mr. Horrenda for doing that. At least that's my understanding. Mr. Horrenda may take a different position on that, and I think he does. But that's the hook upon which Huntington hung its termination of the loan agreement on.
Okay.
So, but the money that came in, Mr. Cowie pretty much did allocate. I mean, he traced it out to where it went. While it may not have been, for example, I think the FF&E, the equipment, there was a bunch of invoices attached to one of the draw requests saying that, well, there's $690,000 worth of equipment I'm going to pay for with this money. He didn't pay for the equipment with that money, but he paid other legitimate bills with that money. So I think that's what we're sort of getting at here. And I don't know that there's anything really wrong with that. Maybe there is.
Kind of rob Peter to pay Paul to get by?
It's just kind of reallocating stuff. Maybe the loudest voice got paid. Because remember, when I took over, there were $8 million worth of unpaid lien claimants out there. So assuming he would have got the $12 million commitment, $8 million would have gone to the lien claimants. He would have $4 million to finish the project, and I had to borrow another 12 plus to do it. So that leaves a shortfall of 8 if my math is correct.
Okay.
So,
and if you had seen anything that led you to think any kind of a crime might have been committed, you would have turned this over to the authorities.
Sure.
And you don't see that at this time.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Alderman Brian Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. I'm seeing in your report in a couple of places that it's referred to as an examination as opposed to an audit, or as Alderman Weary had alluded to, a forensic audit. Could you maybe explain to me the difference?
Well, I don't think there is. It's an examination. An audit is an examination. When you do an audit, you're examining all the base information, the sources and uses of cash. He dove down and looked at the invoices. He looked at the check registers. He traced every penny that went through all the accounts. We subpoenaed or were provided with records from all the banks. He went down and sat in the KPH offices and went through all the invoices. He looked at the subsidiary companies that Mr. Horrenda had, like KPH Environmental, tied out all the money that went through there. There was another related company that supplied labor. Now, that's not to say there were markups in these things. I mean, I think, when you dig down into it and really take a look at, how much was charged and what the markup was, and, there may have been some, profit in there that could have been contributed back. But, they signed the contract with KPH. So remember that at the time the contract was signed, there were two partners, Franz and Horrenda. So what are you going to do? I mean, when they sign a contract at a number, I can't really change that. So
Okay, so at this point, I mean, we're talking semantics. I mean, the difference between those, examination, audit,
it's
financial
the same.
audit.
It's the same.
It's the same.
He really
Okay.
dived into this. This is a pretty deep audit.
Okay, and this might be the newbie in the room here. As part of the receivership, how was the cost of this paid?
The receivership?
No, the cost of this examination or audit.
Oh, I mean, it came out of the money that was advanced by Octagon.
Okay, so this was not part of the city funding that paid for this?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, the city's money was spent in the project before I ever get involved.
Okay.
So.
And through this process, unless I missed it, I didn't see anything in terms of, I guess, identifying deficiencies in internal control with the city or a breakdown in city practice. Would you say that that's?
No, I think the city advanced pursuant to the process that was in place. I mean, there was a draw request. It was backed up by invoices. They matched, the numbers matched, and I would assume from if the city was looking at it, they would say, yeah, this is appropriate, and they advanced. So
okay.
Yeah.
In your professional opinion, I mean, we have some money that's been advanced from HUD. It sounds like we can't necessarily trace it back to HUD qualifying expenses. Do you feel that the city has any liability or exposure where HUD could potentially ask us to repay those funds?
Well, that's beyond the scope of my expertise.
Okay, so that doesn't fall within the scope of this
Well,
examination?
I mean, let's face it. I mean, the hotel that's being delivered is what was promised, and the expenses are all in there. So I don't know how HUD does it, but I mean, if you go back and reallocate, obviously all of those things that were represented to be completed the money is spent on them. Historic tax credit money, I think actually more money was spent on the restoration. So there may be, I know they're taking a look at the ultimate funding on that, but.
Okay, and when your auditor does the deep dive or the forensic approach, do they typically review transactions for inflated costs or for items that might not be relevant to the project?
No, I think he tied everything out to the contracts, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Is it above or below? And there's a question, I guess, when I took over, was it 60% complete? Was it 70% complete? That's a hard one. Sure. I've asked them to give me a percentage, but obviously I don't think, well, in hindsight I could say that they couldn't have come in at the contract price. It would have been over the contract price. So, because it is over. Not by much, but a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Well, several million, but I suppose that maybe more than a little bit.
Anybody else want to speak? You gotta hit your light.
That's it?
Nope.
Nope.
No, it's not on the board. I'll hit your light, but it's just for the record. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is that on? Thank you, Mr. Swanson, for coming in. I think a number of us have been involved in this project on and off for the last 6 years, so it's been a long process, to say the least. The question I had is, you hired Martin Cowie, correct?
Right.
To be the forensic auditor?
He's worked with me on and off for the last 20 plus years.
I think the question I have is that if you look up Martin Cowie, he was involved in some lawsuits and a few other things down in Oshkosh. I don't know if you can just elaborate on that. Did that compromise his ability to do his job?
I don't think any of that impacts on his ability to perform a forensic audit. So,
okay.
Mr. Cowie got into business himself for a while. He wasn't working for me at the time, and had some problems. So, but that doesn't really affect his ability to do an audit.
That's all I've got.
Oh, that's great. Anyone else for Mr. Swanson? All right. Is anyone else wishing to speak to this? This is the item 7. Anyone else? Yeah, anyone else wishing? All right. Entertain a motion. All right. Motion by Alderman Vanderleest, second by Alderman Scale to return to regular order. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. We're back in regular session. Motion on the floor is to receive and place on file. Alderman Weir, you still have the floor? You're good? Anybody else Let's use the board and vote on this. Item 7, under the report of the Finance Committee. All right, and that item 7's been approved unanimously. Thank you.
We're now on to item S, report of the Park Committee, August 15th, 2018.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderman Scannell to approve the report of the Park Committee, as the clerk said, for the meeting held on August 15th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately?
5.
Number 5. Okay, hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, would you please signify by saying aye?
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 have been approved. What are your wishes regarding item 5? There's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderperson Dorff. Alderman Burnett.
Yes,
Hang on, just 1 second. Alderman Burnett.
yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, I'll make a motion to amend the motion to approve substantially as attached, and I can explain after a second if I could.
Just wait. So it's to approve the lease agreement for the construction and maintenance of the downtown Pocket Park contingent upon the approval of the law department, with the exception that the final draft will be completed by the next city council meeting with what? Tell me what you want.
So I talked
no,
to...
just to give me the word so I can just
sure,
get a second.
Approve substantially as attached.
Okay, so we're going to amend it to add the words approved, substantially attached.
As attached.
As attached, yes.
And the reason is...
Okay, so there's a motion and a second on the floor. Go ahead.
Sure. Prior to the meeting, Co-Director Ditchite asked me, gave me an update on this. We approved it at the Parks Committee on Wednesday. The Law Department did not have an opportunity to do what the committee asked them to do prior to this meeting. It took, it required time to contact the person involved. So that's the motion. If Attorney Chavez could comment on this, or Director Ditchite, or someone, so we have an understanding what the status is.
You or Dan?
I can answer. We had conducted a review of the agreement. We were waiting to hear back from the leaseor as to whether or not they agreed to it. And so we're still just waiting for that. It's been through legal approval or legal review at this point. We're just waiting to see if they have any revisions to it, but we don't anticipate anything substantial. It would just be technicalities at this point.
Sure, and it was a very, very quick timeline to get this project up and running, and that was, I think Alderman Johnson at the committee level expressed concern. He didn't want this to be common practice, that we're, approving things and trying to get pieces in place after the fact. So obviously I made the motion, so I'm in support of it. Thank you.
All right, so what we have on the floor now is to amend this approval as substantial attached. This doesn't sound like good English to me.
It was foreign to me as well, but
okay, but those are the words.
That's correct.
So I'm saying the lights, huh?
Substantially as attached.
As substantially attached. All right, so all in favor of that amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. I'll need a motion to adopt as amended.
Motion to adopt as amended. Second.
All right, by Alderman Scannell, second by. Yeah, got a bad connection because I don't see it on here. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Pam, do you see the light on?
I see red.
All right, Alderman Johnson.
So I was just going to attempt to add a friendly amendment to that, just to have that final contract reported back to the Parks Department at its next meeting. So no, it's not really a substantive change, but just a request to have that contract reported back.
Okay. So we'll approve this with a notation that this contract comes back to the Park Committee.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not requesting any action needs to be taken, just that we have an opportunity to review.
Dan's here and he's shaking his head yes. So, all right, so there's a motion second to adopt this as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, and the contract will, Dan, go back to the Park Committee as requested by the Alderman. Great, Chris.
We're on to T, Committee of the Whole.
So we are now on to the committees of the whole, and Alderman Grenier had asked for this. This has to do with the Green Bay Packaging Mill and some other things. And evidently the INS committee did not meet, or will not be meeting in a timely fashion to address this. So Director Grenier, I'd like you to explain this, and then I'll look for a motion to adopt this.
Certainly. The Improvement Service Committee last met, I believe, on July 30th, and will not meet again until second week of September. We, as part of the Green Bay Packaging project, have to get out of the 2200 block of North Quincy Street, where the old military, or the old Quincy Avenue incinerator building is. We've got a number of facilities out there, not the least of which is the police evidence storage facility, and that has to be built to certain standards for evidence storage needs. We're going to be moving that evidence storage facility over to the Badger sheet metal property, and we need to be able to execute contracts in order to allow that to happen. And the Green Bay Packaging project has very strict timelines associated with it. Those timelines are not conducive to what our meeting schedule is. So the committee and the council has granted us the authority in certain circumstances to award other public works contracts. And one of the large conditions that was attached to that we insisted on as staff was that it had to be part of an approved capital improvements program. This contract, obviously, the entire Green Bay Packaging project came up after the capital improvement program for the year had been adopted. So we're simply asking for the same latitude in executing contracts in a timely fashion to help that Green Bay Packaging project move forward. So everything we're asking for here is work. These will be contracts over at the Badger sheet metal project or property, but they are directly related to our moving out of the Quincy Street facility for the Green Bay Packaging project, which was adopted, I think, 2 months ago.
Right. So I would look for
to approve.
a motion. There's a motion by Alderman Vanderleest, seconded by Alderman Galvin, to approve item T1, which is the request by Public Works. It's just explained by Steve, the authority to award these contracts to get the evidence storage moved out and relocated in the Badger sheet metal. Any discussion on this? Alderman Weary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did have two, and apologize if I missed it, but Director Grenier, what are our expected costs and what's the funding source for this?
The funding source is going to be a combination of, there are some funds that were already allocated for other projects this year. Specifically, there were some fiber optic interconnects that were anticipated to go up to Quincy that are no longer needed. We're going to take that money, turn it back around, and the TIF. At this point, we are still working up what the expected costs are going to be. I've got Berner Schober doing the design, and when the design is completed, we'll have the budgetary estimates.
All right, thank you. That's my only question, but I do have a comment.
All right, go ahead.
This is untimely, really not because of improvement in services meeting schedule. It's really because we're meeting once a month. Now, if we had been meeting regularly twice a month, we easily would have been able to handle this. But because we chose to meet once a month in September, for some reason, which I was opposed to, we should easily be able to handle this, because I think this is something we should look at. We don't even know the cost. This is all, involving buying the land over on Broadway as part of the shipyard project, but we're going to move our storage over there, and we don't even know the cost of what we're doing. So I really don't want to we just heard how we don't want to sign off on things without seeing it. I think this should go to INS, maybe work with our chairman, Chairman Nicholson, and try and get an early meeting, but I'm going to vote no. I think this type of cost, we're reallocating funds. I don't remember ever approving reallocating funds. Maybe we want those for some other street issues or potholes, something like that. I'm not interested in reallocating funds for this. So I'm going to vote no. I think we can handle it at INS. Can't be that time consuming. We should have planned better. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve item T1. If you could please use the board. And that passes on a vote of 8-4. All right, thank you. All right, Chris?
We are on to you, report of the Ethics Board, June 14th, 2018.
And this is a request for reconsideration of the Council's June 19th decision on the report of the Ethics Board, which was dated June 14th, based on the rating opinion of the lawyer representing the Ethics Board. So the way this works is I will ask for a vote for reconsideration. Then the item's reconsidered. Then it's just back to where it was, and then we need a vote to do whatever you want with it. But the first vote I'm going to ask for is a motion and a second for reconsideration. All right, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Galvin, to reconsider this item.
To clarify, Mayor, it needs to be somebody who voted in favor of it. For the motion, the second can be by anybody.
Did you vote in favor of this?
I voted in favor of it.
Okay, all right, so we're good. On June 14th, okay, so I think it would be appropriate then if you would make, you want to make the motion to reconsider this? All right, and the second by Alderman Galvin. Alderman Weary?
I do have a point of order, and I know there's some emails that went around regarding this. Since 2002, it's always been my knowledge, and Alderman Nicholson can probably back me up on this, our policy as a city has always been you can reconsider items 24 hours before the next council meeting so that it can be on the agenda and then debated whether or not you reconsider it at that meeting. That's been our policy. If Alderman Zimmel were here, he'd probably tell you it was for 40 years. You'd probably say in time in memoriam or something like that, a little more flowery. In speaking with the previous city clerk, they concur. In speaking with Anita Raleigh, who just retired, she concurred. In speaking with Village of Ashwaubenon, who has the same policies, they concurred. They said if you don't get it in time, too late, too bad. In speaking with Sandy Juneau at the Brown County Clerk's office, she also agreed to that. She said they follow the same guidelines. So I just really want us to ensure that all the rules we have here are being applied equally to everyone and not being changed here and there. You know, this has been our policy, and it's the policy of those around us. I think we should deny this as untimely, or hold this and get a legal opinion from the League of Municipalities regarding reconsideration guidelines. One or the other. If we're not going to deny it, we should hold it and get some clarification. This is an important one. Otherwise, you know, reading the opinion that we have all 2 years during our term to reconsider untimely items, or, I mean, that's interesting. So I think we should deny this as untimely. Yep. Been here as long as I have, or Alderman Nicholson. Alderman Nicholson, I don't know if you want to concur on that, but I know people who have been denied because they didn't get it in time, and they were just told too bad.
Do you want to comment on that? Is this, I mean, I read your opinion, and I want to hear this in front of the council, but this is not out of order. So I'm not going to rule it out of order.
Of course not.
Per the city's
What does that mean?
ordinance.
Stop. It's about point of order.
Per the city's ordinance 2.06, subsection 7, which governs reconsideration, it states that motions for reconsideration shall conform to Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, except appointments of city officers shall not be subject to reconsideration whether confirmed or rejected by the council. What I sent you was an explanation of Robert's Rules. You'll know I quoted directly from it so that you all are aware. It's up to you how you guys want to deal with things, but this is, you guys have already received my explanation of Robert's Rules.
Alderman Galvin?
Your Honor.
Just hang on 1 second, Bill. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. Chris, you mentioned policy. Is it a written policy or just one of those past practice things that we hear about all the time? So past practice. Well, like we talked about new blood in the council, I don't know why we should be holding to past practices unless we all agree to follow it. Well, that's their past practice. Are they establishing how we do? Well, It's not written down.
Yeah, just wait, you guys.
I'm sorry.
On the chair.
Okay.
So, yes.
So it's not a written policy. We do follow Robert's Rules of Order. That's my understanding. So, I mean, if it was written down that's how we had to do it, then I'd say yes, let's go with that. But we've got a legal opinion based on Robert's Rules, and I think that's the way our council should go moving forward. To have to be held hostage to old past practices that may or may not have been correctly used or done, I think is wrong. And you know, part of the reason why you want to get new blood into a council is to maybe change some of these old past practices. So I'm in favor of the reconsideration. Thank you.
Alderman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know who would best answer this question, but when was the report of the Ethics Board available to this council? On what date? Does anyone know? Because I recall reading the report when we were reading something that led us all to vote the way that we did. And what day was that report available? It was available for the June council meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, the meeting was on June 14th.
Sure. So we had that report available to us. So the motion, it just seems rather unseemly to me that we would two months later then decide to change votes. I mean, whether we agree with this person involves actions or their ability to appeal, whatever your personal position is on this now has been going on for 2 months, and I believe it is possible that they were preparing to appeal to the Ethics Board per the action of this council, and I don't think that that's a good practice to do. You know, you don't turn something down and then 2 months later change your mind because someone is involved in this process that is affected.
Alderman, just for the record, we were notified at the next council meeting that this was coming.
The
right?
person made a communication.
Right. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I do recall that. So I'm not angry or frustrated. It just doesn't seem like good practice when someone is involved with the decision that this council makes, then for a month or 2 months later, then has to go back to the original when this report was available to everyone. In fact, many of us voted the way that we did based on the report. So I just think it's bad practice for someone who's affected. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Alderperson Veronica Corpus Dax.
Oh, okay. You got it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the reason that I submitted the request for reconsideration is because I actually had not seen the opinion of Attorney County. When I looked at the agenda packet for the June meeting, my understanding is that it wasn't attached. I hadn't seen it, and then I had spoken with other alders afterward, and they hadn't seen it either. I know at least one other alder had not seen that opinion, so that's why I brought it back. And then also, as well, speaking with, getting an understanding from Attorney County himself.
Great. So, there's a motion and a second to reconsider this item. All right, Alderman Weary.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to hold this item and have legal staff obtain an opinion from the League of Municipalities regarding reconsideration guidelines.
All right.
If I'm not mistaken, it does not allow anything else to happen.
Well, then I think the reasons are numerous enough that the waters are pretty muddy for us to be waiting this long. We heard that information was available to everyone. If you're not prepared, that's not on us, that's on the individual. And I think we're going against all of our entire history of what we've done. And to say, well, now we can do whatever we want. Careful with that. Thanks. That sounds like
Alderman Burnett, do you have a comment?
I just turned it off. Thank you.
All right, okay. All right, so you were checking to see if a hold trumps the motion for reconsideration. And if it doesn't, we're going to vote on this.
Oh, we're waiting, Your Honor. You can't sing.
State your light. Alderman Scannell, I see your light's on.
I'll just throw in this 2 cents that since no action has been taken on this item, and we're dealing with a newer alder, I got no problem as long as we're not violating anything. If we're going against our own convention, we can do that. I have no problem supporting this. So if action had been already taken on it, it'd be different, but no action has been taken. So nothing's been done. I got no problem with supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Nicholson?
Question, do we need Mr. Kelney here?
Well, you'd have to open the floor to hear from interested parties. I think
the question is, do we need him here?
Well, that's not my...
Is he charging us right now for sitting, listening to our meeting?
I would think most attorneys I know, if
well, you should know, Mayor, but I mean, if we don't
yes,
need them, we should dismiss
them.
them.
I'm sure.
Then we should dismiss them.
Well, you don't
if we
know
don't
if you
need
need
them.
You don't know if an alder person wants to hear from him.
Well, that's why I'm asking. Do we need them or not? I don't want to talk to him, but I'm just wondering.
I would think if the item is reconsidered, one might want to hear from him. That was my understanding.
Okay, so then it's a yes, then we do need him here.
I would say yes.
Okay.
We were asked to have him here. Thank you. Okay. All right. Yeah, we got time. Alderman Wary.
Make a motion to open the floor.
All right. So we have a motion by Alderman Wary, second by Alderman Nicholson to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor of that motion, please signify by...
We're discussing, we're opening the floor for what?
On reconsideration.
Specifically. On the reconsideration. But we haven't even gotten to the reconsideration. We may not
What are we waiting for?
We're waiting, here's, you know what we're waiting for? We're waiting to vote. But the reason we're not voting is because he asked for a motion, hang on. He asked for a motion to hold, and you know how a referral, like some things trump, but with a reconsideration, I don't think anything trumps it. I think that's the issue on the floor. It's a standalone. That's what she's looking up right now.
Okay.
So you cannot postpone indefinitely. You can postpone to a certain time.
All right, so what do you want to do? You want to open the floor or you want to postpone to a certain time? I mean, that's up to you. All right, so there's a motion and a second to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Your Honor, before I give my yea or nay, what specifically are we opening the floor on? Is it on the motion to be able to reconsider?
Yeah. I am going to turn to the audience and I'm going to read them what is on the floor. Request for reconsideration of the Council's June 19th decision and see if there's anyone who wants to weigh in on that.
Don't we have to first vote to see if we are going to reconsider? What if we're not going to reconsider?
What if they want to influence your decision to reconsider?
Okay, that would be...
All right, so we have a motion and a second. I don't know that we totally need your vote, but I want to hear it again. A motion and a second to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Floor is open. So we are discussing report of the ethics board. That was a meeting that took place back in June 14th. There's a motion, we're discussing possible reconsideration of the council's June 19th decision on the report, the ethics board dated June 14th, based on the written opinion on the lawyer representing the ethics board. Anyone here that wishes to speak to this?
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say one thing. The words just flow off my tongue right into my brain. You have a serious procedural problem.
You need your name and address, please?
Oh, my name is Guy Zima, 1121 12th Avenue, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Right, thank you.
Serious procedural problem. The irregularities in how you've been treating reconsiderations is quite amazing. I think you open yourself up to a lot of possible litigation. But that's just my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. But I believe there are some written policies. I tell you, over in the county, there's a written policy about reconsideration. And I think the council actually has a lot of policies. I just don't know where they are. There was a time when we had them, but a lot of records just get thrown out the door. So what are our council policies and procedures? Where are they? I think somebody ought to look for them. But I'll tell you, as a matter of fact, it has been the practice that I believe is based on policy. And I know we have a written policy over in the county that speaks to it directly, and I believe there's one in the city. Just where is it? Maybe the clerk ought to try to find it. But we have acted that a person could always reconsider up till the next meeting. And if someone made it actually the same day, then it had to be held off for another meeting. But it always had to be in writing to the clerk. And of course, we've had, Your Honor, you have ruled that, well, we got to start following Robert's Rules of Order in lieu of any other amendments that the council has. You know, we have a right to policies outside of Robert's Rules of Order, and I think there is a policy somewhere. I just don't know where it is. I'd have to ask the clerk to get it. But here you are. Not only wasn't it untimely, it came actually at the meeting in the form of a communication. Oh, you were aware of it? Well, hoop-de-doo. I'm aware of Mr. Nicholson and some other people's attitudes about certain things. It doesn't mean anything until you put it in writing. And it doesn't count if you don't put it in writing and get it into the clerk's office and get it down. I think there's just political pressure going on. And, you know, in all due fairness, you have new people. I can appreciate that they can change their mind about things because they are hearing arguments for the first time. But this one is a no-brainer to me in all my experience.
All right.
You don't get to, if you're going to do it the same day, you still got to go put it in the clerk's office the day before, sometime before the meeting, not at the meeting, at the end of a meeting. It's very problematic.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to address the council regarding item U1?
James Cownley, 918 Georgia Drive, De Pere, Wisconsin. I'm not in a position to address the issue of the reconsideration. I don't know that it's appropriate for me to. Can't say that I've researched it, and I can't comment on that day, on if the request to reconsider was filed the day of the next meeting. I don't know that. I haven't looked into it. I'm here to address, if you do in fact reconsider, I'm here to address the opinion and to make clear why I don't believe it's in the best interest of the city to proceed.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Somebody make the motion to return to regular order? Motion to return to regular order. By Alderman Scannell, second by Alderperson LaFave. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. All right, yeah, hang on. Alderman Weary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did look up in our city code, it's section 2, and I just lost the page here, but it says we adhere to the Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised. And if you look in Robert's Rules of Order, under reconsideration, if the vote on some motion isn't reconsidered on the day the vote was taken or the next succeeding day, the vote can't be reconsidered at the next or later meeting. So if we're following Robert's Rule of Order, we're even out of order. If we're following our own policy, we're out of order. Unless we're following the revised Robert's Rules, past practice, rules of order, subsection 2, subsection 3, amended twice. I don't know.
Right.
Robert's Rules makes a distinction based on the session, which is the language I provided to you. This council has been acting both ways. And so there has never been a requirement that that it has to be done at that meeting. And so with that, this council has elected to move forward with reconsiderations. I provided you guys with the language. That's all I can do at this point.
Right, Alderperson LaFave.
I do serve on the county board, and as Alder Nicholson had mentioned, or Mrs. Zimmer, yes, I had asked to reconsider a vote, and I had to go into the county office and make the request personally to have the vote reconsidered, and it had to be before the next board meeting. And I did so. It came up on the board agenda, and they had a vote whether I could reconsider my vote, and they allowed me to. And that's the way the county handles it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to allow it. A yes vote, this is reconsidered. A no vote, it's not. Use the board. All right. So the reconsider motion fails on a vote of 7 to 5. Wait, 7 to 5. Okay, so clerk, let's continue.
We are now on to V, receive and place on file, building permit report for July 2018 and municipal court report for July 2018.
All right, so there's a motion by Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderman Scannell, to receive and place on file the 2 reports as stated by the clerk. Any discussion here? Is your light still on, Alderman Ware? Okay. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The 2 reports have been received and placed on file.
We're on to W, resolutions. You may, under suspension of the rules, adopt resolutions 1 through 17 together with 1 roll call vote.
All right, we have a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stevens, to suspend the rules for that purpose. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. The rules are suspended. A motion to adopt by Alderman Johnson, second by Alderperson Scannell. Use the board on this, please. And those resolutions pass on a vote of 11 to 1. Thank you.
We're on to X, ordinances first reading. You may, under suspension of the rules, advance ordinances 1 through 5 to a 3rd reading.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to advance these to the 3rd reading. Item 4 is not appropriate, so we'll take that one up separately. That just needs to be received and placed on file. So what we're doing is we're suspending the rules to take up 1st reading, advance to the 3rd reading, 1, 2, 3, and 5. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. All in favor of suspending the rules for that purpose, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. And then a motion to advance. So motion to advance by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stevens. You can do this on a voice. All in favor of advancing, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Items 1, 2, and 3 have been advanced to the 3rd reading. A motion and a second to receive and place on file item 4.
Actually, just hold it, Mayor. It needs to be held.
It needs to be held.
Till after the referendum.
Oh, till after, okay. Motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stevens to hold item 4. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nay. All right, and what are your wishes regarding item 5? All right, by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Bill Galvin. Alderperson Burnett.
No discussion. I'm just going to vote no.
All right, fine. So with that, we'll do a voice vote. This is to advance it to the third reading. All in favor of advance? Yep, okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep, you're fine. Boom. Sorry about that?
Yep.
Okay. No, we're good. Right. And that passes on a vote of 7-5. Okay, clerk.
We're on to Y, referral of petitions and communications.
We will begin with Alderman Mark Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. This one is to Community Development to study and report on partial city funding for a garden coordinator position that is presently funded by Brown County. Nearly 3/4 of community garden users live in the city of Green Bay. Thank you.
Thank you. We will go to Alderman Andy Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one for, I believe, Finance, requesting the records and finances charged by Mr. Kelly for the years of 2016, 2017, 2018, with specifics and explanations for each charge to the city of Green Bay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Chris, you got any?
No, I do not.
Okay. Alderman Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple. The first is for protection and policy. Review with possible action on the City Council's policy and/or city ordinance for reconsiderations. Improvement in service. Review with possible action how sidewalk replacements are funded. Third, protection and policy. Review with possible action city ordinances or policies to allow for action to be taken on the first and second readings of ordinances. Fourth is protection and policy. Request a legal opinion from the State Department of Justice Office regarding walking quorums, mayors that are legally a member of the City Council, and the practice of meeting individually with council members regarding upcoming business that the City Council will be voting on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Scannell?
Yes, to the mayor's office to coordinate with all departments to send digital files instead of filling mailboxes at City Hall or mailing hard copies, please.
All right, all right.
No.
Thank you.
For alders that want it.
There
you go. Alderperson LaFave?
I've already sent it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, I have two of them. To improvement and services, request to extend special assessment payments from 5 years to 10 years when requested by resident or residences. Okay, and then to the park board, request to brighten up parks. Colorful fences, painted lines on tennis and basketball courts. You can Google colorful basketball courts or baseball stencil silhouettes.
Okay, what we've been looking for, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderman Stevens. Hey, first and a second on referring all late petitions and communications. So motion by Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderman Stevens to refer all late communications to the proper authorities. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Now, a motion to adjourn by Alderman Nicholson, second by Alderman Stevens. All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We're adjourned. Thank you. On that.
Put this on the computer and then get it back to you tomorrow. I already told Joanne that you have it. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Can you keep that in there, Chris?
Huh? Keep what?
I gotta check the resolution of that.
I don't have mine.
Okay.